Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 5:37. We'd like to call the Board of Architects review meeting open. And we'd like to start with the first applicant, the Rifkins. If you'd like to come up with the latest.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hello. So
This is
Andrea Buckingham.
Andrea Buckingham, the landscape architect. So just to recap, an important project has taken place on the lake, a new replacement of a not so pretty house with an amazing house and with a big landscaping plan, and certain codes were broken in the landscaping. They were so the point of this thing here is to rectify what these problems. So if you'd like to tell us how we're going to do that.
Took it upon himself to rebuild a wall. There was an existing wall for a portion of it, which is shown on the Lance and Tully plan that was submitted. And we also have an additional Lance and Tully plan that was done for the previous owners. So there was a pre-existing wall that abutted the property line and tied into the Yanuzzi's wall. So
just to recap, the wall
yeah,
belongs to the Mr. and Mrs. Yanuzzi. It's
Yes.
their property.
It's on their property.
It's not on the property line.
yeah, but there was a boulder wall that tied into that wall, abutted it. So it crossed the property line. There's about 6 to 8 inches on average between the Rifkin's property line and the face, of the wall in question. So the issue was that we have to keep any new retaining walls 2 to 3 feet off the property line for code. So what we'd like to do is remove the top portion of the wall that wasn't pre-existing, and we're peeling that back.
The wall that
The wall that was just built by the excavator, and take the top portion of it back 10 feet off of the Yanuzzi's wall. And we're going to curve it into the property line, or, parallel to the property line, but 3 feet off of the property line so that it's in conformance. And so, and that should be rectify the situation because we're the compliant then. So the portion that was pre-existing can stay, and the top portion that was uncompliant, we want to peel away and rectify. And I also, in addition, I pulled the landscaping away from the wall. We will remove any fill that was added against the wall in that section. You can see from the existing conditions that in general, the Yanuzzi's wall on their side, it's much higher and freestanding than on the Rifkin side. There's about a 2-foot differential in height from the Rifkin side, which is higher than. So we're going to bring it back to the pre-existing condition when the Rifkins bought the property. And hopefully that should solve the issues and we can go forward, because we all want a happy solution and we certainly want to be compliant. So.
And what about the French drain? Was there
we decided against the French drain because we felt just digging and putting it in might be more, problematic and disturb more area that, abuts the existing wall. So we decided to, since the soil drains perfectly well, we've had crazy torrential rain. I've worked on several projects here and we've had washout in other places and nothing has washed out, along the property line. So we feel that it's probably better not to do the French drain. And so just regrading it to the way it was before, and again, peeling the wall back should solve the issue.
And so in this rectification, you have permission to go onto the Yanuzzi's land because it's their land, that little strip.
That's 6 inches. I haven't been involved in a discussion with them, but we can certainly discuss it.
Right. Yeah, that's important to have that permission to rectify it, to get to undo the problem that was created.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're back now. You've restored it to where it was, and then this the fill that remains on the Rifkin's property. How how much would that be? How much?
It's no more than 2 feet.
Mhm.
2 feet max was filled against it for a portion maybe 20 feet long. So that will be removed in the process of peeling it back and putting in the new boulder wall again, 3 feet off the property line, so we're in compliance.
And there's still enough room to have the steps going down into a
Oh, yeah.
vegetable garden.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so all the other.
Yeah, we have plenty of room. Yeah.
Right.
The most current plan is the June 23rd plan that you
Yes.
presented, so that's.
So you're saying the green giants, are they?
Yeah, I peeled them back.
They-
So now there's a gap of 4 feet clear before the face of them. So there's plenty of room for, not pushing any soil against the wall and for maintenance, again, along the wall.
And is the wall in good condition? Has it suffered at all? Is
No.
it?
Yeah, it's in very good condition.
And by doing this work, you feel you're not going to.
Well, it will be mostly handwork in that
Okay.
section so that we don't use a machine and we don't have a bucket or
Okay.
anything.
Right. Great. Do we have any other questions for the
I think
applicant?
that addresses all my concerns.
Mhm.
I think it's a solution that gets both parties happy and
especially with the test of the rains that we've had, right? So
Right.
I think that really does kind of speak to the drainage today. And I like to hear that the handwork will be next to the wall to keep it all intact.
Like to open it up. Do you have any questions or would like to open up to the floor?
Yeah, so the issue, I think that's been in contention.
So there's Mrs.
Yeah,
Yannucci.
Alexi, it's
Uh.
Todd Yannucci, our lawyer, Brian Horace. Okay, Brian, you're welcome to start if you want. Unless you want me to.
Yes, I'm mute. Can you unmute, Brian?
Sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
Can everybody hear me? Good.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So I guess one thing I'm concerned about just hearing the presentation from Ms. Buckingham is that there's now no French drain being planned. And I don't think we have a position one way or the other on that at the moment, but the last plans I saw did have a French drain. So is there something more recent than that?
Yes, June 23rd plan was submitted.
Okay. So I personally have not seen that plan, and I trust that everyone received the letter that I submitted on behalf of the Yannucci's on Friday of last week. I think our general concerns still stand, regardless of any change in the plan, which is before any permit is granted by this board, work that was done without a permit and in violation of the code should be removed so that that the status quo from before the illegal work can be restored, and at that point a permit can be considered if one is sought. The key, and I know it's been discussed here this evening, the key really, the most important issue is for the Yannucci's to have access to their wall, which we all agree is entirely on their property, full access to their wall on both sides for purposes of inspection, maintenance, and repair. I think we do have a concern that there has been some damage to the wall. There is some cracking in the wall, and in order to fully explore the extent of that damage and to repair it if necessary, this illegal work needs to be removed. And so this board should not be granting any approval in a way that might suggest that this illegal trespass that has put a significant additional load on a 100-year-old wall in the property adjacent to that of the applicant, that work can be sort of approved in a sense, or at least excused with the approval of this board. The work needs to be removed, and it sounds like the suggestion is at this point for the fill that was added to be taken away. I guess without having seen the plans themselves, I'm concerned that that isn't really clear in the plan. Certainly it was not clear in the previous iteration of the plans dating back to, I think, May 23rd, May 24th. It was very ambiguous as to what, if any, of the fill would be that was added illegally would be removed. And so I think the solution to this problem that we have here today is simply to expect that an owner of property in Tuxedo Park that added illegal fill on a 100-year-old wall that belongs to their neighbors should simply go ahead and remove the illegal work. And if they want a permit at that point, come back and seek the permit, and we can all consider it then with the conditions as they existed before the illegal work took place.
To answer your question, thank you. I think the purpose of deciding now how to move forward was that we're all on the same page, so that what the Rifkins plan to do is crystal clear to everybody and is acceptable, instead of them just going ahead to do it. But from what I understand, is that yes, it's getting back to what it was.
So I just would have to say there's disagreement about that. Have you had an opportunity to look at the letter that the lawyer submitted and look at this picture?
Yes, we have
I
in front
can
of us.
come forward if you want me to.
We have it in front
I have
of us.
copy.
All right, so this is a picture, and I mean, if I have one, I have 50, of when the Hall House was still, the first the Rifkin house, the original house was still standing. And you can look at the grade, that's the spectrum of the wall. Absolutely, 2 feet will not begin to take away what was added. And
There's no
I can
pre-existing
also
wall.
say there was also no pre-existing wall, because you can look here on this picture, that's just like a line of rocks. So, obviously, you have every right to approve a new wall that is within the code and off the property line. But I would say the wall is historic, it needs to be maintained, like all the walls in Tuxedo Park. So the property line is 6 to 8 inches off that. Zoning says you can't do anything within 2 feet of the property line. We will need access to repair the entire wall. I watched this fill go in. I think the 2006 Lank and Tully elevations do not reflect what was there. Just like there was no wall. It was rocks.
And the line of rocks that you see is holding back the green grass north of it. That is not the location of the current wall. There's pine trees there. Now, the existing older wall that was built, the older wall existed, is new and is
It's right
closer to
here.
the
I'm gonna
lake
step down. So I
than the
also,
green stones, which were a row of stones, not a wall.
Well,
And on the plans that pre-exist,
That's the tree line, right?
there was reference to stone soil supports. That's what was there. Step down, not a wall,
Gotcha.
right? What is there now, and it's confusing because the references are not always clear. The boulder wall, is that gonna be 2 feet tall going across? Or is it 2 feet, because it's many feet, and that's holding back many, many feet of soil. And no one has really studied the long-term, much less short-term effect of that water flow. We now have cracks and an actual stone,
We have
top
stones
stone
and
that has fallen.
so I would ask
And
Andrea,
cracks
when
throughout
you
our
asserted that the wall was in good condition, have you seen the wall from our side?
No, I haven't gone on your property.
Well, just to back up, so one thing at a time. Let's take it in 2 parts. Addressing the wall issue, that the plan that's been proposed, dealing with your wall, the access to it and the respect to the code and the distance away from it, is that acceptable? That's getting back to where it was.
Right?
Well, no,
It's off of our
are-
property.
Is what's being said that there will be a removal of all the soil against our wall?
He's talking about the perpendicular new wall.
I'm talking about your wall.
Our wall
Your wall, yeah, exactly.
now has soil against. it.
Right, and
Above
that's,
the height of it.
and that's being
Will that
removed.
be removed at where the boulder meets it, or will it be removed up towards the road? Right, where it's been added in a section.
It will be removed in a section,
How long is
approximately
section?
20 feet.
And just 2 feet of soil will be
Is
removed?
20
Yeah,
feet
because that's
exactly, or is
what,
that?
that's what's on all of our reference surveys. I'm not a surveyor, but I would
understand, but
respect that the survey was correct
I
from
know that that's a
multiple
thing,
years now.
but it's not. And if you look at the picture,
But the picture's deceiving because you're seeing it from your angle where the wall drops down. And so
I
it's, the
understand,
depth
but-
of field is very deceiving.
but
The
there's,
plan is to get to, what we want to happen is to get exactly back to what it was.
and we're saying what it was is way beyond 2 feet of soil being removed. So let me ask you a question. I have to repair my wall. Right? We're gonna repair it, we're gonna repoint it. That's access to the entire wall. It's not taking away 2 feet of soil.
Our wall is 5 feet tall on one side,
Taller than
and it
five,
was built
5'9".
up from the ground. So to
It
presume
was
that
always a
there'd be
freestanding wall.
2 feet of
It was
soil
never a retaining wall.
visible on one side where there's 5 foot, 4 foot, 3 foot on the other side.
Well, to me, it seems on the survey that that wall and then the wall with the kudzu is, I think, like on the other neighbor's side is like 5 foot lower
And I don't think that's relevant.
than
That's
your side.
completely different property and always has been.
No, but
May
it's, go ahead.
May I ask for a point of clarification in your request? The request is restored to pre-construction level. You'd commented that the site plans that from before, you were not,
The 2006
Yes.
Lankin Tully survey that they're referencing is not accurate.
so may I ask what would be the ideal solution for you when you're asking for a restoration to pre-construction level?
So
What would our point of reference be for that?
yeah, I mean, that's gonna be a tough one, but enough dirt that we can actually repair our walls substantively. The wall went, I mean, I don't know if you're able, can I show you the?
Oh, yes, I have it on a full-size screen here, but you're welcome to.
Okay, so if you look here at this picture, and I could send it to many others. I mean, we've lived here since 1996. Everybody who's ever worked on the property, I spoke to everybody. They're in complete agreement that if you look at that, and by the way, this is the pre-existing wall they're talking
Oh, yes,
about, where
no,
the
I get-
wall
I see
steps
the
up.
reference.
Right, so the problem is, if you also look at what's circled on that, so how, like, once, the other question I have is, once all the soil was scraped away, why was it all put back up? You can't just grade and regrade, right? Sure.
I think
Right.
this
So
is,
it's circled.
this seems to be two different perspectives though.
Right,
Like
what
if you,
she's throwing us
if you
off will-
follow the tree line, there's no, you can't even see your existing wall in this photo.
It's right here.
So it's like
that's the
graded,
wall.
so that this is,
This is the wall here, and this is the wall here.
So, well, I think, all we have to, we have
Send you way
this,
more photos.
we have a survey from 2006, and that's all we can go by. We can't, unless there's another survey that you have that shows different, I mean, we have
Go
to,
back to the hall.
So we actually have two Lansing surveys, one that's done when they purchased, or when they started to work. And also one from the previous owners, and they both say the
Who's to say
same
that
thing.
wasn't a
so-
proposed stone wall? Who's to say that's an existing? There's no, it says stone wall at some angle.
It wasn't existing, well,
I mean,
since I've been on the property and I was brought in after the start of the build of the house, there was always a boulder. They're calling it a line of boulders. Line of boulders is a boulder wall. There's a drop in elevation, so
But-
it's sort of splitting hairs of what, and it, I can jump down a rock, these big boulders are 2 feet, and that's what we're trying to get back, just that one little section that touches her wall. It was 2 feet high, and so we're gonna bring it back to that. and peel away all the offensive material that is against
I'm sorry, are you saying that the new wall will touch our wall still?
it.
No.
Yes, because it was pre-existing.
Uh,
On all the
uh,
surveys, I mean, and from when I was there, I saw it
But-
before all the excavation and fill was done. I did my own personal notes.
But
I think what's throwing off a bit of the perspective in these photos is the new retaining wall for the parking area that's been brought in. If you're covering that up a bit, it is similar to the slope that I'm seeing in this original photo. I did. I reviewed the elevations from 2006 as well as the new ones and looked over the topography on the map. I mean, I am seeing, though, I understand your point that that's not a completely put together stone wall, but to me, this looks like a stone wall that could have been in disrepair or a line of boulders. I mean, or a stone wall that's,
You're looking
oh, yes, the letter from the lawyer, this photo. So, I mean, if you're looking at this stone wall that's going across here,
and
where the new offending one is.
that's not where the new offending one is. So if I could use your
Oh, sure.
pointer. This wall, see how it's, there's this line here?
Mhm.
This is where the wall steps down significantly. Okay, this is where the new wall ties in, this here. This line of rocks, which you want to call a wall, if I hired someone to build a wall and they put a row of singular rocks with no foundation, I wouldn't consider the job done. That is holding that grass back. This is what the prior owner, Furstein, did when he leveled land and cut trees. These pine trees were cut down. This point is where the new wall is. You saw it before at that point. You've got different vision than I do. Because here is also during a blow up of during the construction. That's the same. This is that same stone wall that held back grass.
Man,
Yeah, sure. That's the pile of rocks. The wall is not there. The wall is lower down. Right? There was no section. there.
so would you be,
So the place of that wall, these trees here were the pine trees that were shown in the earlier picture. And that's where the wall is tying into this corner point. Okay, not there at an angle. Okay, so there is a completely new wall built where pine trees existed. Boulders very high and touching our wall. You want to put a rock next to our wall? Put a rock next to our wall. Fill a boulder wall and fill with dirt. That's different.
We're all in agreement that that shouldn't have been done. And unfortunately, it
And
was
it's
done
months
without our
later, and
knowledge.
Our wall is crumbling under that pressure and nothing was done.
so, sorry, just to back up again. So let's focus on the issue at hand, that your wall to undo what the damage that was done, so that you can access it, you can inspect it and do any rectifications. In the past, have you had to repair the wall in the past, or have you?
Walls were repaired. We bought our property in 1996.
Mhm,
Every single wall on the property at that time was repointed.
mhm,
It's a lot of walls.
mhm.
That's a long
We
time
had someone
ago.
work a year in that process. doing that
Singularly a
job.
year to repoint all the walls and try to restore. the
And that was pointed
The
on,
property had been, and we're like the third owners of the house and it's 1891.
and
So
you,
that gives you some perspective. Everything had to be fixed.
and it was pointed on the Rifkin side as well as your side, every side, okay.
Yes. So now it's that many years later, compounded by the issues that have been going on since March 7th, which is the day that I called John and I said, the dirt is being filled against our wall like a sandbox. You can see the before and after pictures.
Right, no,
We can actually, so we can go back and forth many times about what was existing in 2006. But if you look at the photos as far as the foundation, everything is scraped. So take it from that point.
Our wall at that. point
Why is
was-
there allowed to be fill and work done within 2 feet of the property line, which is 6 to 8 inches off the wall into the Rifkin property?
Our wall at that point of the tie-in of the boulders is 6 feet tall on our side.
Right.
If you remove 2 feet of soil, there's 4 foot of load on that wall. And I've heard nothing about how the soil will be held back when they're not using our wall as de facto retainer wall, which was never
We're
built.
pulling the wall off of a line. We're
No, not the
curving it up the
vertical.
wall.
Well,
We're
soil-
making it parallel to your wall, but
When
pulling it
there's
back.
2 feet offered of access to our 6 foot, 5 foot, 4 foot, variant wall, how is the soil that is more than 2 feet higher than that point going to be held back from collapsing onto our wall over time? Are you building a retainer wall for that? Not-
We're
that's all.
curving the top of the wall back and parallel to your wall so that we're keeping all that soil away from your wall.
So that'll go the extent of run along our wall. There'll be 2 walls running from that.
And
point
for,
up to
for the
road.
section that it
Is that on the
needs to
plan?
be.
It's
Yeah,
gonna go
yeah,
from
it's
the
curving.
When
ground.
you say things like for the section that needs to be, that means nothing to me mathematically.
So
Say 2 feet.
when you say you're
20 feet.
taking 2 feet of soil away,
Mhm.
then your new rock wall that's curved is gonna start at that 4-foot high place and go up.
To make up the difference, yeah.
Okay, so then what we're saying is there's still 4 feet of dirt. That's,
But that's not, but, sorry, I'm getting confused that we're talking about your wall remedying that, getting that back so to what it was. For example, like in 1996, when you repointed it, was it 5 feet dip on your side and 5 feet on the Rifkin's, and that's filled up on the Rifkin side?
Over time, it was,
some debris had built up,
right, it
but
was
not
somewhat
to the,
higher.
right now the soil is above our wall.
No, I know, no, we understand that.
Yeah.
So I think what we've got to move forward with this. It's clear to me that what we need to do is, as has been suggested, is remove that fill on the offending area to get it back to where it was. In the survey, that's what we have, a plan, a black and white plan that we can work by. That's all we have, but we can't, well, it may be this or it may be that. We have that survey, which is certified, so we have to trust that and get it back to that.
There are
So that-
elevation lines on that survey. Okay, and the elevation line on some of the presentations have been removed, but the line can tell you that 06. Again,
If
at
you look
one
at the
point in time,
entire plan, not just the section that was provided.
their elevation.
That plan is
And
this
on
big.
average, there is a 2-foot difference, meaning as the elevation line at 600 comes from my property and goes through our wall and onto our side of our property, it goes to 598, it comes down. There's an average 2-foot difference, not 2 foot of exposure, meaning if I'm standing at one point on my property and it's 6 feet tall, then it would be 4 feet tall on the opposite side of the wall.
Can I
So there's
interject
2
one thing?
foot difference in the elevation of wall exposure, not 2 feet of wall. That's a very different thing, 2 feet difference.
Right.
And that's consistent with 2006, not consistent with original plans back 100 years for the wall, because the wall was built on level ground, right? The wall, the contour of the property line didn't go like this over time, but on later surveys it had been. So that should be the consistent differential, is the wall height on our side minus 2 feet on the other side of our wall. Does that make sense? Because of the contour lines. And that's on the line, I can tell you, it's missing on some of the presentation materials. But if it's, so it's 594 or 584, it should be, you can tell by measuring the wall differential to the ground.
I agree, but there is also the complicating factor that the wall is sloped in certain areas, but then you have this big drop off, the step down, as you've called it. And in the step down, that's where you have that extra height, but the ground, so the ground is sloping like this, your wall's like this, and you have this step down. So it's not consistently, 4 feet, like you're saying, of material that should be, the wall might have been 6 feet in that tiny little strip, but then it's getting
So where it goes
progressively
to 3
less.
feet tall, a step down from 6 feet, it goes to 3 feet. Then on the other side, it should be 2 foot of exposure, right? And it should be 2 feet high. It should be a consistent 2 foot differential if you follow the contour lines from 2006. Again, a random point in time, but that's where those dates are from. And that was when the property was bought or was under the first team engagement for the surveying, right? 2006.
Right.
And those are the lines, right? So you can't tell whether it's 594 or 592, but you can tell whether it's 4 feet of exposure on one side and, 2 feet on the other or not?
I mean, as a matter of, I'm not clear on the answer to this, but once everything was scraped away, like it was in this picture, that's on the left there,
Mhm.
the photo, then why is there even a right at that point, to say we have this point in time in 2006 where we think the dirt was higher? At that point, don't you have to comply with the code with whatever you do? So moving forward from this point, when it was scraped, don't you have to comply with zoning and all the other codes before you build a stone wall and fill it up against my property? Why does the 2006 point in time give the right to put all the dirt back? I'm unclear about that as far as the codes and procedure in Tuxedo Park.
I'm maybe not understanding. I think for clarification, for us to, with all good faith, we're getting back to what the situation was with the document in 2006. Undo the damage was done.
Why? Because that is so different. We can disagree all day about that, right? But my question is, once they did this, and there's nothing on my wall at that point, then why the ability to stack the dirt up?
This was in the middle of construction though, right? So if I assume that it was necessary for the build of the house, right? So it was scraped away to get the foundation in place and this, yeah.
But I think what we
So I
need to
think-
focus on is your wall, that aspect, the
My
rest.
wall was exposed here. That's my
And I
point.
want to, and the issue, if this is the wall that was built that touches our wall.
I guess I hiked
and
the
is this
property.
the
and
wall
we-
that you're saying existed, that you saw before the construction, that existed?
No,
Intersecting
we're
with our
not,
wall?
we're
doesn't
not
mean
saying that.
that's
We're
the
saying that the point that crosses the 3-foot setback and touched your wall, there was a 2-foot drop down from the boulder wall stack line, whatever you
You're
want
saying
to call
something
it.
touched our wall.
Yeah.
Where's the wall? Where's a picture of the wall that touched our wall?
I don't have a picture of it. It's on the survey. And I saw it in person when I started
Yeah,
my
we
plan.
went-
This is the location, and that survey does not mark, if you have a large copy of the survey, it marks the stones that were laid, not this.
Actually, may I say-
If I understand correctly, this,
me see
the
the survey.
wall, it's a rectification, it is not, the new Rifkin wall is not going to touch the Yanutzi wall, if that's
Do you
correct.
have one with further detail?
I thought that it was because-
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. So this
My
is,
understanding is it wasn't until Andrea said
Is there a
it
date?
was, because that's what was there.
No, I think the original,
so make sure we're all on the same page here.
If you follow the contour line markings,
Yes.
that's the best way
My
to see
question,
my
is this a
point.
question for zoning?
Because
Is
the
this what
dotted
board
lines,
does?
no, I think
Even
the
numbers.
question is, we have a disagreement, well, let's get back to what it was, so that you can access
This
your
was from
wall.
the previous.
Yeah.
there are 2 walls, this one and this one, right? 2 stone walls listed, which is a stone wall you saw touching our property.
Falling and everything.
And it's also listed as a retaining wall.
Yeah.
In the survey.
That's what.
This is
that's-
your wall.
Yeah,
But
I
just
see
because
that.
they label it as a retaining
Well,
wall.
that's why
it's not a
I didn't. do
I mean, it is.
retaining wall.
Well,
What we have to go on is a certified document, though. I can't go from photos or opinion. We have to go on what is on the record to solve this. So what we're trying to do is find a solution that makes everyone a little happy and everyone a little miserable. What we need to go on is the topography lines here and to find a solution that's in compliance that doesn't build into your wall. I think bringing it back 3 feet and off the property line and having this wall as, if I understand correctly, you intend to have the wall curve and follow up
Yeah.
into the hill
Mhm.
and support that.
Yep.
So it would no longer be putting a weight on their wall and would return to the this terminology, be restored to the pre-construction level. I mean, to me, that's what your ask is in this letter, is to restore to this document.
Phil,
We're
is
taking
what
it
I
away,
would-
yeah.
That is
So
one
you're
the same.
taking 2 feet of fill away,
That's not enough.
when feet and feet and feet were added.
I think
taking the fill away that was put there. So we get back to what the original situation was on the survey of 2006. That's our benchmark. That's what we go, that's what,
And we don't agree with the benchmark.
we don't have another benchmark. Survey.
I guess we'll look at the hall survey then.
We have the
We'll have to
wall
look at the
survey.
hall survey,
I'd be happy to take a look.
which are the previous owners of First.
It's,
But it probably only shows the contours on your side or?
It shows both
It's
sides.
the same house, it's the green house, it's the whole house originally.
I am, in order to try and get it, get this, to move this forward, I would like to propose that, that this is, that we remedy this, we remove what we think is to the 2006 level, and then we take it to the next step to see whether that's satisfactory or not. I think it would be absolutely comfortable. As my colleague said, it is built like a retaining wall. The wall on the other side of your property is a retaining wall, and it's absolutely the same.
I don't think that's a proper equivalence.
And
All that borders.
boundary
this
walls
property.
on a slope that goes down, it's clear that there's going to be more soil fill on this side, on the higher side than the lower side. The same on your other side of your property, that there's more soil on your side and significantly less on the other side. So they're retaining walls on the border of the property, and so they're very thick and very structurally sound. And so if we remove and get back to 2006, where there was absolutely no problem, there was no damage, I think we'll be in good shape. And I think that's an absolutely fair and compromise. Yes, it should not have been done, and so this is the option to remove it.
So it was done,
Is
and
damage-
whatever was there was stripped away, and then it was filled up like a sandbox. So how are we going to retain somebody to repoint and fix that wall if we can't access 4 feet of the other side of it?
Well, if we get back to the 2006 level, whatever height that fill is there is your fill, it's your wall, it's your, that's your property. That is your property.
So I can have it all shoveled out then?
So yeah, it's, it's your property. So, you'd come and ask, to get permission to do something like that,
Why
because
do I have to
permission
ask
to
permission to
shovel
shovel
my
dirt off
property?
my property?
I think if you think there's a danger that a wall is in danger, then I think it would be.
Why do I need permission? Where in the
70
code do I need
permission.
permission to do that?
I'm not a lawyer, so maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but I would think it would be, I don't think it would behoove anybody to mess with a wall like that. That's like a retaining wall. But that's your call. That's-
The very first thing I said before the board was, please stop referring it to as a retaining wall. It has always and historically been a freestanding wall. I know Andrea is shaking her head, but it presents as so down the entire rest of the property.
We have an architectural plan from the wall from 1913.
Okay,
Stone wall. Does
we'll
not
call it
say
stone
stone
wall.
retaining wall.
It's literally a pencil drawing. So I'm saying now, I need to repoint and maintain my entire wall going down my property. So my property is 6 to 8 inches over that line.
We're gonna
So that's
stand
what
there
we
and
would like to
excavate.
do.
So it's, then you come up with a plan, yeah, and
Why do I have
to do
to
that.
submit a plan to maintain my property?
No, well, I don't know. I mean, that's in the future. What we're doing, we're rectifying the problem that was.
I mean,
That's not
it
for this
doesn't make any
board.
sense. I should be able to maintain my wall.
But but I'm not, the fill against the wall, the 4 foot you're saying, was not, that 4 foot was not
Okay,
put
but
that,
you're saying that's my dirt.
correct.
The dirt from the edge of my wall to 6 to 8 inches into the Rifkin property is my dirt.
Right.
So I'm gonna remove it all the way down so I can repoint my wall so it doesn't fall down.
That's not, that's your purview, that's, your decision what to do. What we're focusing on here at this meeting is undoing the damage that was done. That's it.
Right. Which the
So-
wall's already like, the rocks are coming
Have
down.
you seen
into
this from the
property,
file, the whole file?
Which we have pictures
This is also 2006 if you blow up. That is a different version of the 2006 in the Hall file that John Ledwick has. He can pull it for you now. That shows that this is not listed as a retainer wall.
Received
And that the
diligence.
concrete does not touch our wall in 2006. That's anything labeled stone or concrete pillars by the
One
halls.
moment, just to orient
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Sorry, thank you. I do want to hear what you have to say. I'm just trying to figure out where we are on the map here.
I can show you too.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the dock side on the landing. And this is the wall we're talking about. Okay.
But do the elevations carry to the other property or no?
I think the relevant
No, they don't care.
The
Over.
relevant issue here is that, first of all, it's from 2006. You saw that there.
Yes. I
It's
did.
in the village file. Okay? And if you see, there's concrete pillars and there's a concrete wall section there, right? And then there are a number of trees which are also listed. This is the road, this is coming down. And you can see there's nothing in 2006 touching our wall, and this is laid up stone and concrete wall. Not called a retainer wall on this one, incidentally. Okay. So if we want to go back to 2006, and then this does show existing trees that were on the other plan and that were, you can see the stumps in. Right. See, this is where the wall exists now,
Well, if you're, it's where it exists now. Right
where
here.
the trees are. I'm trying
So
to
on
lean
this
in.
plan, it is showing an existing concrete retaining wall that lines into those
This
trees.
goes this way.
But you said it was
Angle.
fallen down, correct? Yes, no?
No, I'm saying there's no wall touching this.
Mhm.
This property right here. This is a corner. This does not go up to the wall.
Mhm.
This is far north of where the existing wall structure was built. It goes through these trees.
And that does show an existing wall there as well. Is this something that we can have a?
That's in the hall
That
file.
should be in the file.
John has it.
If John has it.
Okay. Did you wish to?
Christopher, I was peeking over his shoulder.
And I'd like a clarification of how far the wall goes back, how the soil that is not dug out from our wall
Could you check
is going to be held back from our wall.
It was April 17th,
April
2006.
17th,
How the irrigation will.
2006.
Sorry, what was your question again?
Oh,
You,
this is June 13th.
And the irrigation was removed.
Okay, so it's more recent.
Was drainage, French drainage was removed. Okay, so is there an engineering opinion that that is going to be adequate to protecting our property in the runoff?
well, I think if we're getting back to 2006 to what it was, and that was perfectly fine then without a French drain,
You
There's
realize
a tremendous
you
hardscape.
realize that was the entire property, now the entire top of the property is hardscape. And
there
I
were trees
presume
that
it's
don't
not
exist.
pitched towards the house. So that was all grass prior,
And
and
trees.
now it's all hardscape.
right?
Right.
We haven't done the
Runoff.
landscaping, we're gonna have a whole meadow.
I mean, all that aspect, the only, everything has been approved for this project, the landscaping plan, except for the border, which is what we're discussing now. And that's all we're discussing now is the border. And so to get it back to undo the mistake that was made. And then, so that's,
So I guess we're talking about the 6 to 8 inches, that's our property on the Rifkin side of our wall. Right? I mean, basically, that's what we're talking about then, and the fact that they need to do their work to do that.
correct.
Correct, which includes fill, so we need to repair and repoint our wall.
Correct.
Which means
Which-
that we need access to our property that's on that side, and we intend to clear it so we can fix the wall to its foundation.
That's fine. I don't think that's the purview of this discussion at the moment. We're just undoing what the damage that was done, and that's it. And then the next step, that's a whole other issue. So I'm confident, I'm happy with that compromise and to undo this damage, to get back to this, what we have in
You got a picture
2006.
on that file that shows there's no wall, there's pine trees. Those are the pine trees that were cut down. That's where the wall was put. So that is apples and oranges, talk about existing, so the pre-existing wall.
And the current one projected, this is the old wall where the pine trees were cut down.
And again, that is in the file,
So
Okay.
it's, I mean.
in the village
it's-
office. which if you were in,
Thank you.
you could access.
This is a more recent copy too than the
The-
ones that are being brought up here. This is the most recent.
Mhm.
And
This
it
is
does call it a
June.
retaining wall.
That was
Also,
April.
one question as well. Have you engaged with anyone for repair on the stone wall? I do a lot of,
The person who normally does this for us is actually injured.
oh,
That's
happy to recommend someone if you need someone. I would be very surprised if they suggested removing the existing soil along that 6 inches that is there. I understand your concerns about additional fill, but I think that if your intent is to go along the 6 inches and remove everything to get full access to Repoint, I would suggest meeting with someone to go over their idea of how they might repair it. I
We
think,
have engaged with an engineer.
okay.
So
And
I
they,
think that probably would be the right person, right? An engineer.
I would trust a stonemason. An engineer, it's not a bad idea, but they're there, those walls are there for 100 years for a reason.
And not a stone has fallen out of it in 100 years up until about 3 weeks ago. So
Brian, do you have anything to add?
Well, I just want, obviously, there's been a lively discussion here. And it may be that we all share the same goal. I think it's a little hard to tell exactly how much dirt is going to be removed and exactly what the plans are. And, I'm a litigator. So if you go to court and ask the court to give you relief, but in connection with the relief you're seeking, you've broken the law, the court won't give you the relief. It's called unclean hands. And the court will say, no, you're not entitled to the relief you're asking for because you've violated the law. Just like that here, this board has discretion to simply say, we are not going to act favorably on your permit application until you undo the illegal work that you did, which was done, I think, over 4 months ago. And as soon as it was done, the neighbors, the Unities raised an objection and asked for it to be undone. And here we are over 4 months later, and it hasn't been touched. And they tried to defend it. Now they're saying they'll correct it. This board should simply say, we are not going to act favorably on this application until you restore the conditions to what they were before you broke the law with this very substantial amount of new fill that you piled against your neighbor's wall.
Okay, Brian, quick question. Could you please clarify how that condition would be met? In your letter, you asked for the pre-construction level. What is that?
It's shown in the pictures that we submitted with.
That's very subjective, though. Could you give me an exact answer on how your client would like that remedied? A photo is very subjective.
Sitting here right now, I'm not asking the board to direct the Rifkins to remove X amount of dirt. I'm simply asking the board not
Less
to
than
say to the
until the
Rifkins,
grade
it's
is
okay.
restored to the pre-construction level. That was your letter.
Excuse me, if I may speak. We want the dirt removed to the pre-construction level. We think that is the correct outcome, but we don't think that this board should be granting a permit until work that was done illegally is removed so that we can understand what's happening here. Obviously, that there's a permit application and it says what it says. And, the latest I had was an earlier version. So I don't even know what it says. I do know that there seems to be a lot of confusion here tonight among all the different people talking about exactly how much dirt is going to be removed. I didn't get a clear answer for that, on that question, when I heard Ms. Buckingham describing the plan. If the plan says X amount of dirt will be removed, perhaps that's sufficient, but I don't think the plan says that. I think, so I think what the Rifkins are asking for is grant us approval for what we say is the pre-construction level, and we can, essentially accomplish what we wanted to accomplish with this board's imprimatur. But after they already broke the law. So all we're asking for is to hold the application in abeyance or deny it, pending the removal of the work that was done in violation of the code and without a permit.
I think the application has been approved already, except for this point in question.
Well, this is what we're talking about. This
Right.
is the
So
part
I
of the
think-
application we're talking about.
Right, so I think we're all in agreement to get it back to where it was, to undo the damage. And that's what we're focusing on tonight, and that's what everybody's being fair about that. I think we're all on the same page. That's what needs to happen. What level it is, there's difference of opinions, but we have to go on something, and so we're going to go on the 2006 survey, and
The most recent 2006 survey. There's two.
There's
the most recent one, and acting in good faith, because we all want to get back to where it was.
That
we-
follows contour
So my
lines.
question is, the dirt is not, it is above the wall, above the height of the
They're gonna
wall.
remove it, but
So if they take 2 feet of dirt,
We're going to get back to where it was before.
okay, so the contour lines
so
show
but 2
that.
feet from where it is now would not be anywhere near, because it's above the height of the
We're
wall.
We're gonna
So,
match the heights
matching
that
the
are on the
existing height
survey,
on the survey.
exactly the height.
This is the blueprint. This is what we're going by. We cannot.
What is matching what?
On the topographical line on this.
So then, what I'm speaking about the topographical lines that on my side of the wall, that they tend to curve down by 1 notch on the other side, which is a 2-foot differential. So 2 feet of wall less on their side than on my side. I see 5 feet, I see 3 feet. I see 4 feet, I see 2 feet. Because that's the pattern of the contour lines on that survey, if you follow them down and mark them on both sides. That is not showing 2 feet of wall consistently, because my wall is 6 foot, my wall is 3 foot.
Mhm.
It is showing a 2-foot differential between my side of my wall and the Rifkin's side of my wall, which is also, my side. Does that make sense? So is that what you're going to propose, to show me 2 foot less of wall continuously from that point of the boulder up? And for how many feet? Not 5 feet, for 10 feet, for 20 feet, for the extension of what? I'd like a number on the record.
Just for the record, we're talking about a plan. Can someone identify the plan that you're referring to?
Like and Tully, survey and topography prepared from the first lines on the latest revision, July the 7th, 2006.
Can I ask, and I'm sorry to speak without raising my digital hand, but is there actually a submission to the board that specifically says that the 2006 conditions will be
Yes.
restored?
This is not
Yes.
the same line, the dotted line is
It's on the
600,
June
right?
23rd.
So
revision of
600
plan.
there is 598 here. On one side or the other, they tend to curve down over the course of the line. You see the line coming down by 2 feet.
And our goal
So
here
that
is to
is what-
restore it to this level as
So
indicated on this
that'll
plan.
show, if I'm standing here and it's 5 feet of wall or 4 feet, whatever it is, on that opposite side, it should be 2 foot less of my wall exposed. And in a corridor, sufficient for me to have a barrier to stand there.
Is there a corridor in this photo? Is there 6 to 8 inches in
Can't
this
see.
photo off the wall that you provided? Because I'm not seeing that. This is your wall.
Well,
Is there 6 to 8 inches on the other side that you had available?
sorry.
Are you trying to have a copy here?
Yeah, go for it.
So at that point, I look at it this way, that is the tip of the That is the high point of the wall. That's where the wall is 6 foot tall on my side.
Mhm.
Correct.
And is there a corridor? Yes, you can stand on the other side. There's no wall there. Now there's a wall there at that point below where the rocks are on the ground, right?
So you could
There's no wall there
stand,
at this point. You
You
could have stood on that side. There would have been trees there,
Hmm.
right? The trees have been cut down, all of those pines. And now there's a wall there, and that wall towers above my 6 foot on my side wall. It goes higher, that boulder. That pictures that, right? So you can't stand there. You can stand on the top of a rock right now. So yes, you could have, my wall was exposed. And according to this topographical, here's the point. It was 2 feet higher on that side. But no corridor was necessary because the ground hadn't been built up.
it's hard to tell the
That
pictures
makes
because I
sense.
can't see the corridor. Yeah.
So I think we have to move forward with this.
The ground was like this. There's no corridor. Now it's been. So it was going to stay elevated.
Have any other comments from the audience or on the online?
Let me just make a statement for the record. We're not a court of law here. We're the BAR. So if there's a controversy, we really can't solve that for you. All we can do is deal with the Rifkin application, which is before us right now. And as part of that, unless the Anuzzis agree, we cannot make a finding that would require any work on the Anuzzis' property or on your wall. So this board really cannot make a site plan that's going to touch what's on the Anuzi property. So if the Anuzzis wish some kind of remediation work to be done, I think that has to be agreed upon with the neighbors for us to make a determination. On the other hand, the Rifkins have a site plan and they're looking for an amendment of the site plan. This board can act on that, but it's got to be very clear that if the Anuzzis are not going to agree to have any work on their property, it has to stop at a sufficient period of, basically has to stop at the property line. And any structures that the Rifkins are proposing has to be sufficiently set back from the Anuzi property line. So we really can't order that excavation be taking place on the Anuzi property to either remove soil or add soil without the Anuzi's permission, because otherwise that would be a trespass. So
Which is exactly my point,
what is
which is
already
on
happening.
March 7th, when I called John, and clearly he went up and saw what was going on because the March 7th taken from the street with the excavator loading the dirt, which has been our contention since March 7th. Everything that was packed in there is a trespass.
right, and we can't. This board has no way really to solve that issue for you. All we can do is approve site plans. And I know that we have limited power, essentially.
Yeah, I understand. And my confusion is, John, what I received was the BAR plan revised as of May 26th. That was the second set of plans, the revision, but now is there another set that I haven't seen? Because what I understood were the updated documents for resubmission. June
There's a
29th.
revised landscaping plan, June 23rd.
Okay, and so I've never seen that. I didn't know that was in existence. What I have from you that was sent on June 5th were the updated, that's the, I've never seen the June 23rd. Have the updated documents, which I understood.
So how can we move forward with this?
I'm not really sure at this point.
Well, let me make us. Go ahead.
I'd just like to address the comment, and I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the man who's on stage left.
The attorney for the
Hi.
board.
This guy?
Yeah,
My name is Stephen Honan, Honan, attorney for the board.
Attorney Honan, so just to respond to your comment, that really plugs into exactly what I was saying in my last comment. I mean, essentially what you're saying is this board can approve the removal of the fill that was illegally added on the Rifkin property and approve the wall that they want to, well, they already built it, but now they're asking for approval for the wall that they've constructed that they're going to change a little bit. So you can approve all that and give them exactly what they want, but the fill that they put on the Unuzi's property is going to stay there after this board acts and
No, not gonna
approves.
stay.
No,
That is not.
that's
I
not.
believe if I understood Mr. Attorney Honan's comment, that's essentially what he said, is that all this board can do is approve work on the Rifkin property.
That's correct. We don't have the authority to go on to a neighbor's, we can't, as this board, with the Rifkin application, we cannot go on to a neighbor's property and do any work there. The Rifkins cannot seek approval for that. Not without the neighbor's permission.
That's what we asked your permission right at the beginning. Would we have permission to do that?
to remove the dirt that was added, but we disagree on how much dirt was added. That's the issue.
I think we can't get off that.
Right.
So
So we just,
all aspects, everything except an aspect of going on to the Unuzi's property, I think we can deal with this application. But we cannot direct them to go on to the Unuzi's property and do any work or do anything.
Can I suggest, particularly since the Unuzi's were not given a copy of the latest plan as we understand it, can I suggest that this matter be continued to another date and perhaps in the interim, once we look at the new plans, there can be some discussion about removal of dirt on the Unuzi property, because I certainly don't think it makes any sense at all for this board to say, you did work illegally, we're going to let you keep some of it, meaning the wall, part of the wall that they built. We're going to ask you to remove the fill on your property, but we're going to let you leave the dirt on the Unuzi's property because we're powerless to act as to that. And so that part of your illegal work, we're not going to touch. I think that's an absurd result, and I do not think this board should be in the business of allowing illegal work to be done on a neighbor's property only to turn around and approve work, the very same work, or at least part of it, that was done on the applicant's property.
I'll object to the use of the word illegal and this board. We're not a legal board. All we know is that there was an indication of work that was done without a proper site plan. And we're now having the applicant come back and get a proper site plan. So the work in the future that will be done according to the site plan on the Rifkin property. We cannot authorize any work on the Unuzi property without the Unuzis being part of the application, essentially. So, I mean, what we can do is this board can move forward in certain aspects of this landscape plan that is before us, but certainly not anything that's going to affect any work on the Unuzi property.
John, as
I
it,
don't know if that can be done, but that's what we are authorized to do.
John, as it relates to the plans, they are all posted on the village website in advance of these meetings. So they are all available online since this was on the agenda. So they're all accessible.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. I mean, I wasn't aware in any way that I was not up to speed on the documents. I thought that the email I received, the update, was actually in preparation for the last meeting, which was occurred because there wasn't a business to take forward. So I can own that. I didn't understand at all there was a new submission.
so to try and move this forward, what I would like to propose, what I would like to put that's fair is that to seek the Rifkins to seek your permission to remove the fill to what is on that survey. And then if that is not sufficient, if you deem it's not sufficient, then we can take step 2 and address that then. But at least we can, as you say, it's been 4 months. We want to all get an agreement and at least get the process started, and then we can take stage 2. But at least we need to get this going. We need to move it. We need to get the fill off your wall so it doesn't pose any more danger. We don't want to just keep it as it is, because you're saying it's a problematic. So we need to act swiftly. So that's what I propose, that the Rifkins get permission and we grant that the removal is in all good faith to where it was before they started.
I would also suggest, and I think that's a very good way forward, I would suggest that the Yanuzzi's engineer speak with the Rifkin's engineer, and one engineer to another come to an agreement what is in both parties' best interest, particularly to safeguard your wall and to restore it to the condition that you both can agree that it was beforehand, if that's possible.
Right. That's the thing. But not in where it was before. I mean, we've lived there since 96. We've owned the home.
That's why I suggest,
Removing 2 feet of dirt is absolutely nowhere near what that grade was.
and I understand that. That's why
Right.
I asked that your engineer, that you rely on your engineer and in
Right.
consultation with your engineer, then go to
Right.
their engineer and then see if there's a meeting of the minds. If there's no meeting of the minds, then we know that we cannot go forward with doing anything with respect to restoring or authorizing any work on your property, because it is your property and we're not going to
Right.
make
Yeah.
any type of decision on this affecting
And
your property.
What about the fact that the wall, all of those construction vehicles were coming down, that the dirt was packed and pounded
The damage.
pounded right on our property, that front loader was pounding down, which John has a picture of on that day on March 7th, and now I have rocks coming off my wall.
I understand that, but we're the Board of Architectural Review, and we can't give any type of remedy with respect to events that may have happened in the past. All we can do is look at proposed site plans and either grant them or deny them, or grant them with conditions. And I realize that it's we're trying to do a little more than we normally would be doing here at the BAR, and we're trying to come to accommodation, but we can't force people to make an accommodation, particularly neighbors. That's why I think left in the hands of professionals such as an engineer that you trust and knows the wall, speak with their engineer and come to an agreement. And I think neighbors sometimes will not be able to do that, but the professionals will. And as long as it's to your satisfaction, make an agreement. And then I would suggest that with any future application, that it be made both in your name and in the Rifkin's name, at least with respect to your piece of property. Because
I don't get the last part.
this board cannot order the Rifkins to go onto your property and restore it unless you're on the application before this board as well. It's your property being affected or being worked on. So that's.
Do we want to move forward?
It seems to me like you're not, besides your decision that the 2006 survey that was done for the Rifkin, for the Furstains by Lank and Tully, you have decided that that is the pre-existing point in time that we're gonna go back to. Is
So
that-
Yes.
the letter said pre-construction levels, and that would be before the Rifkins even own the
So
property.
is the soil removal gonna make the contour lines match on either side? The point I've made, that the contour lines exist on that. It says, it's 2 feet lower. The soil is 2 feet lower on my side than on the Rifkin side of my wall. So I want the soil removal to take place to reflect that 2-foot differential along the distance of the wall. And I would like that to be maintained for the distance that's appropriate on my property. Not just, right, it can't be an inch worth of 2-foot of wall, it has to be where I can stand there and survey our wall from that point up at those pre-existing levels, so that my engineer and the repair person will be able to access the wall accordingly. Is that what they're prepared to do? And again, I'd like to know specific feet, not where the singular boulder is touching my wall now. Run up.
All we can go with is a document that's certified
Contour lines are there, so are they
And we
agreeing
indicated it on my plan, the same exact contours,
So
the same
that's
exact
from here-
point
from
of,
here to here? I'd like to see it marked. From here to here, you will see the contour lines match after the soil is removed. Is that what you're willing to do? If I don't hear that, I don't think that's what's gonna get done.
I would say from the wall to the spruce, because the spruce has been there forever and it's right on near the wall. Would you agree? You know, within the canopy of the spruce.
I don't know what spruce you're talking about. Can it be marked on the?
They don't have vegetation on this plan, but it is on my plan, the existing spruce.
I guess we'll have to figure it out outside the purview of the meeting. Sounds like,
So you-
We don't understand what that means.
so we'll figure it out.
Okay, so it looks like we're at an impasse. There's nothing we can do.
I think that's right, unless there's some other aspect of the Rifkin's plan that this board can consider and approve. We're basically talking about a narrow area of the entire site plan. So if there's any other aspect of it we can consider that would not in any way affect the Anuzi's property, I think we could go forward with it.
I think we've already.
We've done that.
we've
We
approved
approved everything outside.
Except
Okay.
the
And that's-
sensitive border area. So everything else has been approved, so it's just
What's the incentive to address our issue then, if you approve everything but the violation area?
So what's
Well-
approved, I guess is the question. When you say
Everything.
beyond the sensitive area, how do you define the sensitive area?
I forget what it said in the document.
the
It was the
previous-
border of the Rifkin Yanuzi border, property border. So that's what's hands off at the moment, and nothing can be done unless
So
we
what
come
is-
to an
What
agreement.
does that encompass, the border?
The
Is it like
property
2
line,
feet?
Anything
That's it.
along the wall.
the property line. So if we, I just want to ask one last time before we move to the applicant number 2, and thank you for your patience. In order to move this forward, any little bit, or do we want to?
I'm asking for them to put on paper what they're planning to do, and they're unwilling to do that. They're unwilling to.
It's on
modify the
paper.
plan.
It's on
I
paper. There are grades on it
About
that
the
match.
removal Of how, that I will see contour lines from the point where the boulder touches up how many feet?
Do you provide a plan with
5,
contour
20?
lines?
I have spot elevations on here that match the
Would
plan.
that be possible as a way
Uh,
to maybe remedy this?
The Lincoln
Or-
County survey
Are
with
the
the
contours?
topo lines, that
Sure.
would be.
Okay.
For that little
what we're looking to
section?
So,
That is
they've agreed to add the-
that we referred to.
That would be.
That was
acceptable.
prepared for first.
They've agreed to add the contours, so it is very concise and clear, and that we are all on the same
I think
page.
that's the only, without the contour lines, we actually can't understand.
Yeah, I
exactly
think that's a
what
very
we're
fair
doing.
ask.
The soil removal is
Mhm.
somewhat ambiguous, so I'd like to say that it's.
I'm sorry, could you repeat
The
that?
soil removal or lack thereof has been ambiguous to us, so I wanted on the record.
If it
that
can just
will
be written down, that way
meeting
we
the
can
contour
absolutely.
lines from
I think that's
either-
fair, that we can be very concise about what's happening, that soil removal will be back to that the contour lines will be listed on the plan, and that we're all on the same page.
Do we have your permission?
Not until we see it, no. Yeah. I mean, how can we agree to something we have no idea of?
Well, I mean, we could make that Lankin Tully topographical survey a part of the application and deem that the soil restoration will be substantially in compliance with the
Yeah.
topographical
I
lines.
appreciate that sentiment and the desire to resolve it today. I don't think that we're prepared to agree to anything we don't see on paper at this point. Because I think we've been at it since. And I wouldn't feel comfortable agreeing to anything that's just not on the paper.
That's fair, you shouldn't be forced to agree to something on the spot, I agree. What would the turnaround time be to get those documents?
I could have it done by the end of the week.
Would that be amenable by the end of the week? I'll have
And
this
have
to you.
their attorney review it and your engineer review it and
Yeah, we will. If we get it in
Sounds
a
great.
week, we'll turn it around in a week.
I think that's fair.
I think we made a lot of progress if we can agree that the topo lines on the Lankin Tully survey is what we're shooting for. It will be agreeable to the Newsies and it will be agreeable to the Rifkins.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, let's hope we can get a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Applicant number 2, Genesis Real Estate, thank you for your patience. Good night, thank you.
Good start. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Fine. Yourself?
I always take some fresh air. Okay. John made a 2 trip today, so good to see you again.
Anyways. So let's start with the construction of the mechanical platforms to shield the condenser units.
Can we do the simple one first? And then
Oh,
the-
sure, sure. Which one would you like to do first?
The number 2, the stone. So basically, my idea, I understand that you want me to put a little pack.
I
for
think
you to
bec-
see.
because it's apples and oranges, I think it'd be important to
See whether they
do
actually
the
go
mix and
together.
put it there and
Yeah.
see for a week or so to see with the rain, whether, it's. Personally, I'm, as I said, apples and oranges, I think.
We're not one or the other. We're talking about
mix.
this mix 25 and 75.
That's what I'm saying. The mix is mixing apples and oranges, which is, so I'm not sure how successful that will be. That's my concern.
Personal choice, it would be 100% this. I'm doing 25% because you want it darker. So that's why I
Well-
got the idea from Chu Ying's house and they have some of these things blended in.
Well,
So
certainly. So I think the ideal would be
you
to
want
have,
take a look? Yeah.
have one section, just purely that, which is your desire.
Yeah,
And then the other one, the mix, and then we can see, yeah. And then if
Yeah.
that works beautifully, then bingo,
Yeah.
we're in business.
good.
So I
Okay.
think, yes, I think to see it in
All right,
situ,
yeah.
to see how it looks against the stone.
All gravel paths throughout the garden and the driveway would be using this.
Driveway, not garden. Garden is a dirt, basically, so it's black already. Yeah.
Have you tried, I had great luck with the rains. We uncovered this absolutely stunning hand laid stone, kind of cobblestone path connecting our old houses. I would advise maybe, I'll even go over if you want to on a Saturday, it'd be fun. But if you bring a hand tool, I was able to find all the original paths still underneath. It must have been 50 years of dirt, but I'd be very surprised if they're not still there.
In where? You're talking
Underneath the
about?
pathways? You're saying that the stair
pathway has-
pathways?
No, there's no stone underneath. It's pretty clear because that's, John knows that. That was, they had, what do you call, they have a tank there, they dig it out, it's all dirt, nothing. Yeah.
Part of the area directly in front of the porch, there was a large oil tank removed.
I see.
At the time, there was no evidence of anything there. Some of these walkways are around it, but in the area of the tank, there was no evidence of any.
Okay, I was referring to the pathways. that we
And
were
and there are
walking
other
through.
pathways around the oil tank area, but I don't know if there is anything there.
Might be worth looking. It'd save you a lot of material too if it is there.
Well, I'm not here to discuss, to dig up everything, redo the work. I'm here to get approval for the gravel color.
And the gravel,
Yeah.
so we're talking about the existing gravel drive
All around, yeah.
all the way down to the
Yeah,
the
once-
rain garden
Once we agreed, yeah. Mhm.
and all these paths
The
or.
path is
you've already-
basically, the path already done with the basically dirt, sand, so that's it, then,
So we're talking about
yeah,
the driveway.
yeah.
And you feel it's necessary to do it all the way down here? Or is that an option to sort of finish it here?
We originally, I was thinking about finish it here, but then leave it a little bit. I mean, the thing is that this area is, water still going out. So my concern is if I don't put the gravel there, then that's another tick problem. You see, if we have to service this area and all that, work on that. So, I mean,
Yeah, I think it's because it just seems to be like a bridge too far, if I could use that analogy.
I have no objection. We stop it here, okay? And then put a grass front there. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I think.
Yeah,
think
I
that-
mean, even though underneath we still have the same structure, the same grid and all that sort of thing doesn't go. But on top of that, this thing you can grow grass. I no problem.
Yeah, I think that because I think the neighbors had a concern about the,
Yeah.
the encroaching on, right on,
Yeah.
on the thing where it's,
Okay.
obviously it used to be connected, but that would be a great, I think that would be a great solution.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's see it. And hopefully, fingers crossed,
Okay,
that,
yeah.
that mix will work.
Okay.
And, but it's important to see it, for us to come in situ to see it.
Yeah.
And near the actual, but not far away, but near the actual stonework, near the, to make sure that it's in harmony and it looks great. So it makes it sing and not look,
Okay.
yeah. 'cause that's
Okay,
what.
yeah, all right,
Great.
yeah. What is the,
So
okay,
that's
the Porsche? The Porsche, I did send you a picture today. The engineer went together, yeah, this one, yeah. The engineer has sent, there was a plan. So this is the plan for the Porsche. Everything is still there, we're just getting the roof, and then I was thinking about the copper, and he was thinking about that, because that give you the aged, the sort of aged copper feeling, they propose that, and that would be kind of a match, the existing, on that big kitchen, there was a copper aged already for many years, that will match that color, even though this is not purely copper, this is a better material than galvanized steel, but it's not copper. But then you see this, and they apparently have, in the town of Tuxedo, they're doing this on the roof.
What is the
Metal.
material again? What is the material?
This is, it's a metal, but it's more newer material.
The downside I see of this is that with copper, it creates a patina and it, whereas
That's
this
why
one
they-
will
yeah.
always look like brand spanking new, which in a modern house is great, but in
Yeah,
a,
but then if you do that, then we'll have a period of time which is different color.
Well,
Because,
right, but
you know,
that's,
it'll take time for them to age, whatever.
Natural process.
but I think like us,
I like that. All right, I go back to copper, I don't care.
I think.
No, because he was talking about, he said that color can give you the match right away.
Right, it'd be
Yeah.
instant gratification, but I think it wouldn't
Yeah.
age as well.
Yeah.
So I think.
Okay, so
So
we
go back to copper.
just get a piece of copper on top of that. Yeah.
And then if there's no
No,
fenestration, it's
nothing.
open, so
Nothing
it's
is
just the
open.
roof.
Yeah,
that
just the
protect it
roof,
and-
yeah. The
and that'll
roof
be-
basically repaired it back and then put a piece of metal on it, the copper metal on that.
And then the downs, are the
Already
down
there.
spikes?
Down, we're gonna, I'll put them, we have it on the side of the building, we have that, yeah.
But there'll be the copper ones as well.
But that's the original one,
The original ones are there, okay.
yeah. I don't know what material, but it's original, yeah. Those brown color ones, yeah.
If it's, okay, so that's
So
the,
that's the third item, the repair of the porch.
and the porch, there was a legal issue to that, is that resolved or am I
I believe
confusing
it's
with
still
something else?
it's still in the Justice Court, I believe. I'm not sure of the status of the Justice Court matter.
Uh-huh.
I don't-
That's not part of it.
No, that's not,
I don't think this is part of the
Trustees,
justice court because this one was approved at the beginning. We have a permit. This one, but we didn't finish work on time. So that's why I come back to John, say, because the permit expired, can we go back to do it again? And John this time requested this and submit it. So I don't think that's part of justice court's case at all.
Yeah, that's not, we don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Is that correct? No, I mean, that was the recollection because we do have a permit for this.
There were a few things that had expired.
Yeah. So.
Sorry. we
The
have a-
flowers, so we
other
talked about the
landscape.
stone.
The
on
flowers, let's go back to the flowers. The flowers here. We basically, I mean, all three of you actually saw it. I mean, there's a field here, which is this, the California poppy, and then followed by the grass, basically. And then this is gonna be a dirt path. Okay, that's already there. It's a pure dirt, okay, nothing else, but we're probably gonna make it nicer. And then here, this is the grass, okay, the beauties. And then here we have the annuals. Basically, right now it's planted marigold,
Marigold.
marigold, and then with center, we have some of the alliums.
Mm.
And same thing here, this is the white flower, similar to this, on this field, on this too. But this one doesn't grow, so we have to plant something else, because right now, planted a bunch of the wood, what do you call that, fern in the wood? No, fern, the fern, the woodland fern, yeah, and some Christmas fern. That was planted here, but it hasn't come out much yet.
I think as far as the planting is concerned, I think we'll address that in a minute. The main thing is the screening, which we have some recommendations
Yeah,
for you.
we're gonna do
for
that
the-
later,
yeah,
yeah,
for the-
yeah,
for
yeah,
the-
well,
But
yeah,
the other thing, as long as, you know, the plantings on slopes and things is
Yeah.
significant
Yeah.
to avoid
This is
soil
the,
erosion.
so there's no soil solution, you see that, yeah. it's good,
Yeah, so that's, yeah, we're fine with that. yeah.
Okay.
So we've done that, so A,
Three.
mechanical platform to shield and get
So now we're back to one, right? Two and three down? Yes. Okay. So now one,
Right along.
yeah, then I admire, which one I have, John is very kind to ask me to insert it so that we can have all the talk about it on the side. Apart from whatever the drawing is, there was a generator. Okay, so the idea is to have the generator right, of course, right by the porch area is 10 feet. I mean, it's okay, here's the specification of the generator.
Yes, it's approximately 10 feet long and approximately 5 feet tall.
5 feet across and 4 feet tall, yeah.
Honestly, it's not ideal because of the location to the neighbors next door, but that's the only place the utility would really be put in.
Well, if I could say, when I notified the neighbors about the project a week ago, I did not notify them about the generator because that issue was just brought to my attention late last week. So I'd have to ask that we at least notify the neighbors before we approve the generator, even though the bar can review it tonight and have suggestions. But I need to at least notify the immediate neighbors. It's too much of a change, I'm sorry.
You talk about the Josh and Monica's house, yeah?
Well, I would notify all the neighbors, but yes, obviously, they're the ones closest to the
Yeah.
impact.
Mhm.
Is there a decibel rating on the specification?
There is, and I passed it this week. I was happy to see that it is a,
Quiet Connect, that's a good name.
Yeah,
well, but there is a decibel rating of 69.8.
69.8.
Yeah, it's
That's
3/4 of the way down that sheet I just gave you.
from here to there, so like a 50 or 80 feet from here to the neighbor's house. And going down there, that's like 200 feet, you know, yeah,
So I
more.
think to John's point, yeah, what we can discuss is a robust vegetative screening.
Mhm,
And so
yeah.
that when they get this information, they'll know that there's going to be this screening and
So-
to mitigate.
The, here is the mechanical part, okay. So we talk about basically, have, because of the sloping, so the tree gonna have on this, covering this side, and then on, and also on this, my idea is basically do a square, like rectangle here, but then the engineer suggests is, do something just right next to it, maybe,
So we're talking about vegetational construction.
no, we're talking about, this is vegetation, and then here we have construction because of the thing, but, you know, here is the vegetation,
Right,
so.
right.
So I thought we talk about the Japanese boxwood type of idea, you and I, you gave me the name, right? What's the name of that thing, yeah?
Well, there's Japanese pieris, and then there's leatherleaf.
Yeah, you have some, yeah. Now that of course take time to grow, so alternative is we do a giant green immediately, so it grows very fast. And then while at the same time we planted those things to grow, and then once they grow up, then we take out the giant green. If we want the immediate effect.
I think it's a balanced portfolio to
Yeah.
try all of these to see
Yeah.
which ones take, because
Yeah.
depending on the acidity, the
Some of it,
dryness of
yeah,
the soil,
yeah.
because we've seen some of the, so this is for you. here.
Right, right.
So for the record, we're recommending American holly, which is
American holly, okay, that's good. Yeah, I like that, yeah.
inkberry, which is small. It won't grow as big. American holly can grow taller, but it's
Yeah,
slow.
maybe that, I think this is a good idea. I like American holly, yeah.
Drooping Lakotha is all these are evergreens, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there is a native mountain Andromeda. It doesn't grow as fast as the Japanese Andromeda. We
Mhm.
do like native species, but it's the importance
Yeah.
here is the function to
Yeah.
immediate screening and the leatherleaf viburnum.
So,
What is the height usually of these? Because the ground kind of varies in
It's quite a
elevation.
Yeah.
So
And
the American holly will be a tree. It grows tall. The inkberry can
that
go up
could
to
be
8
10
feet.
feet, right? American
yeah.
holly can be go like 10 feet,
Oh, more.
more than that, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
that-
then we can cover the entire thing, like we talk about the lower window, the top of lower window, that means the entire space is covered on that, if we do it that way.
That would be the ideal scenario, and then to
Yeah,
hide the
exactly.
condensers.
If that's the case, then instead of cover like this, there was a stone here, I would go straight line
Mhm.
and then straight line here.
Yeah.
So then you just basically block out that area.
Well, as long
Like
as
You
that.
need at least 5 feet to cover the generator and close to at least 10 feet to cover the highest condenser unit at least.
So robust planting, but have access so that for
Yeah,
repairmen and.
Yeah, we'll do a,
to go in.
do a little door there and then have entrance, to block it also, yeah.
So I just want to raise a concern about the accessory units. After our site plan, I put a lot of thought into this.
Mhm.
And I did mention
Not be more than 50 feet. Yes, from the,
it's a rather large home. I'm just not sure that an application of 8 of these and creating 8 new penetrations on what's probably a 3 to 5 foot foundation is either cost effective or really an appropriate thing to do on the outside of the house. Some of the other projects I've used, what type of system? It's a high velocity system that could be installed instead. It's more efficient as far as availability. I was able to get them even during the pandemic. So I think it'd be a much more
well, I
appropriate
think,
application.
the thing is that today we are here to talk about how do we shield it, no matter whatever the system is. We're not talking about the replacing a system.
It should be addressed.
Well, I mean, people should have their choice to decide what mechanical system they can use.
They should, but we
Yeah.
do live in a historic district that has certain things that are and are not permissible, and AC units on the side of the house are not.
I hear you, but at the same time, this is what New York government actually, recommended, energy efficient and all that, so that, as long as we address the issue of the site, the shielded. So I think we are taking good care of what stands to be done.
So what
That,
you're
but
recommending an
the other-
alternative?
I'm
to these
recommending
two?
either
Demolish the
central-
system.
No, well, there are 2 options that we have. If you feel strongly about keeping this system, I
Yes.
would recommend centralizing them to one location, perhaps a roof or somewhere where all.
Let me say this, right? I was thinking about what you're saying too, all right? There's some of these pipes and then you say, oh, the great stones, you shouldn't have the sprout and all that, okay? We all can be purists. Today, should anybody even build a house in that big rock? It was built, okay? So, but at the same, this is like different time, you have different thing, right? But at the same time, look at this front of the house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprout. It doesn't impact the beauty of the stone. This is front of the house. This is originally designed by these people. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So things like this, you can do a work to
I think
just,
the problem becomes having 50 foot of hose also on the exterior and hiding them in aluminum gutters in areas that are not original to the house, and creating 8 different penetrations. I currently see that they're going in above non-standard windows as well. It's just not, it's much easier. I could see why they would go through the window rather than core drilling through. But I think because of the size of the house and where they need to be located, this is not something I would recommend. It's obviously your choice, but if you are going to choose this unit, I think we need to do it in a way that's in compliance. And this currently is not. And I don't think that covering up the beautiful house with an assortment of trees achieves that goal.
Well, everybody has an opinion about the thing, but I think the government have, I mean, we are allowed to choose whatever the system we feel.
If that was your
is
choice, I think
functional,
the best
yes.
option would then be to centralize them on a roof location and to have the ductwork moved inside of the house.
Well, the house is already done, okay? We're doing more disruption to the historical house.
I
Then
commend your
there's-
efforts. I mean, I walked through that project in 2019.
Yeah.
So not a project that not many would take on. And I've seen the extensive and beautiful renovations you've done. It just seems out of step with that to then stick this on the side. It is clearly a loving renovation.
It is a good point. You've come so far,
Mhm.
and this is the icing on the cake, and the icing's a little bit not as good as it could be. So it is a small but very important detail, and that would be my desire as well. The whole thing would sing so much more beautifully if that was something you'd be prepared to do. If it's not, then we have to do something very creative to
Yeah.
in order to
I
hide it,
told
to
you,
put a
maybe,
patch. But-
you know,
but
we
I
live with
think
the time when this is only thing available during the COVID, and investment already made, okay? Therefore, to replace this investment at this time is not feasible, and therefore,
I'm sorry, but two things. It was available during COVID. I did put in several of those systems. They are available. Secondly, this was done without permission, and it is a big investment. If you'd like to retain that investment, my suggestion would be to use them and put them in a way that is in compliance.
okay, if that's the case, if you think installing an air conditioner unit, each one of them need a permit, then we have to go back to.
I didn't say
the court
that.
to do that.
Simply where they are located needs a permit.
Yeah.
It's one application. I did not suggest that each individual unit needs one.
Because where would we think a good place could be?
Yeah, I'm happy to look over. I would suggest on a roof, that'd be probably the best location. It's out of sight and going to be kind of core and central to the house. I would need to look at a floor plan to give a more informed opinion on that.
Is this something that you think you're
Not now.
not going to budge?
No.
No. Because one I think
Yes, confidence. I don't need to go back. Front view is, no. I mean, this is in good conscience, we can't approve that. That's just not, it goes against every guideline that we have and the entire purpose of us being here. I mean, those are vinyl windows with a penetration that's done improperly, even if that you were installing the unit there. The other one comes down a drain pipe that was added on. I mean, it's just not acceptable.
area here in a place within the porch. I think that would be illegal. It's more than 5 feet.
I think you'd have an airflow issue and it wouldn't, because these units are only designed to go 50 feet, the house is physically too big for that to happen. So really the best application for this would be a forced air system. I'm sorry, a high velocity system, I misspoke.
And what would be a compromise?
The compromise would be using those units, putting them on a roof and having them all properly plumbed and installed correctly that are out of sight and in compliance with our guidelines.
And so my thought was, especially with the other one, it's
There's one unit when we came down the driveway, and then there was one unit kind of on a roof there. I mean, that could be a location. I'm hesitant to say put it there without having a floor plan in front of me to say that would work, but it seems like there are other options than just.
This in that part of the house. This is in this part of the house.
There's two back here.
Yeah, two of them serving this part of the house, but because of here, you're serving this part of the house. That's why it's here.
There
this-
are six, you said there were 625, like the capacity was 25, these were 50s or something like that?
This is 48, yeah.
Okay. So this is
So the
the,
thing is that if you want to reduce apart, you're still gonna see at least 2 or 3 units there because we have 5 of them. So
just think it's
because the
inappropriate
biggest one is the what do you call it? The biggest one is for the unit is 48,000. So this is 25,000. So now you're reducing it to force me, which we're gonna go to court and see whether this is something you can force me on. Okay, but then at the same time, you still end up at 2 units there. Okay, what point does it achieve?
It achieves preserving a historic home and the beauty
Well,
it makes to exceed.
Preserving, correct, but then the preserving is a subject to interpretation
It's
also.
not.
This is more than convenience, all right? Go to the
Yeah.
government. I'm not gonna argue with you. This is for the lawyer to argue, okay? Yeah, for the lawyer to argue. I'm not gonna argue with you, but there's, if you want to look at if you want to go through the entire park, pick up this, even including our gate, we have one of this sitting right by the bush.
May I?
Yeah.
I am open to a solution in which we
Mm-hmm.
centralize them and hide them. That is not off the table. If that's on the side of the house together, not mounted to the facade.
This is on the back of the house, all right? And that there's a shield here, there's a dog there. Yeah, there's a neighbor of that. We can plant plenty of the stuff there. They are not gonna see anything. They also planted, they planted a shield already on this neighbor. Okay, so this is on the back of the house. It's not in the front. I could, if your point might be valid, if I'm putting it right here.
It is on the facade and installed incorrectly.
That's, again, I'm not gonna debate with you. This is
Well,
done and
let's,
it's
let's,
working.
let's do
I'd
some.
like to be very clear. We are in front of this for a review for this application. This is not something that we can in good conscience approve. There are guidelines. I'd also like to bring up the vinyl windows that have been installed that these go through. Those are clearly against the guidelines. If we were to approve this, I would set a horrible precedent and say that work that is done before coming to the board illegally will then retroactively be approved. That is also not within the guidelines. So why even have the process to begin with?
So focusing on a compromise of these.
Yeah.
But is there a way that you know, the generator is a big, ugly, necessary beast that
Properly sized.
exactly. And so would these, so that's going to be in this area here. So if these, would it be possible to do the conduits correctly and bring these further down, centralized, so they're not hanging on the wall, they're further down and not visible on a platform or something. And then
I
they,
think my primary concern is with the grade and with the placement on the walls. It will either take so long for the hollies to fill in or for the vegetation to properly cover these, because this, you know, John, I think mentioned it was 10 feet from the ground to the window at the highest point, or is that to the ground to the top of the unit as the highest point?
That's an approximation to cover the unit.
Yeah.
Maybe more to the upper unit.
so you're saying to bring these down, if we bring these down, then the vegetation won't have to be so high and you.
Or you can grow it higher, because right now the window is, I was telling them, the window could be, I mean, we could grow all the way to this height.
But I mean, would it be possible to bring these down further? Was there a reason that they're there? Because it is, you know, such a beautiful house, and these just like, you know, it's
See, the
like.
thing is that this thing is on the slope,
Mhm.
okay? And this, every these pieces need to be sit on the concrete platform and elevated so that snow doesn't go into that,
Right,
so they can function. Otherwise, during the snow day, this thing will stop functioning.
right.
That's why
Right.
it has to be
Yeah, no,
elevated, yeah.
there's an elevation.
Yeah.
But I feel that they
Mm.
could come down as much as possible. So they're not spoiling that whole thing, because as Molly said.
We grow the tree all the way to here, like the hickory tree is already on top of that.
Right, but this is a patch. What we're trying to do is do, you know, a solution that the house deserves. And this is, you know, something that's, as I say, it's the, you know, the icing on the cake is why put cheaper icing on it when it's done such a good job.
This is the same thing, right? Modern technology. Electricity comes in, there's a post on the side. They wired it here 600A or not did it. What's the difference? I mean, this modern facility does require certain,
Certainly, but you know,
things
but
to
I
that,
mean,
yeah.
there's, you know, and you know, if you go to Ryan's restoration, his carriage house, you know, it had same issues, and has gone to.
Yes, and to bring there's a point I'd like to raise on that too. So even if we left them where they are or lowered them a foot, the issue is then the conduit that is running on the outside of the building and where that we can make those penetrations to come into that. I'm not sure how far your basement goes down there, but as you'd have to be able to core drill as we did to bring in the new modern stuff, core drill into the basement, have it all go to where it's going from inside the house. So my point being is if that's sitting on a giant boulder that that's attached to and that doesn't go to anywhere, we'd have to core drill up and through if you're lowering them. So I'd really need to see a floor plan or know what's behind that.
And there would need to be 6 penetration points.
There are 8 units.
Right, but the 2 on the back, right? We kind of just,
It's still, well, yeah, that'd be less so because it's not going through.
they
stone,
weren't
you're
going
right, yeah.
through it, yeah.
So 6 core drills.
The basement goes down 3 levels, is that correct? Is this 1, 2, 3, or is this?
rooftop, 1 level, 2 level. This is a lower level.
So that's the lowest point. So you'd be,
So the rock would be like that.
so you'd have a
I
conduit.
should also let the board know, I did meet with the electrician today. They're updating the electric service, which is on that same corner that we're discussing. I don't think there's a full picture of it there. They're gonna be updating the electric side and 3 disconnect boxes. That is where the electric comes from Orange and Rockland. It's hard to kind of argue on where the electric service comes into the house. But when I met with the electrician, he will keep the boxes as low as practical. And he agreed the boxes would be lower than the arborvitae or the bushes that are on the neighboring property. But there will be some additional items there, probably no higher than the lowest AC condenser and probably lower than,
Okay.
just so you have a full picture of
I mean,
what's
there's-
happening there.
We don't have a purview over that. There's no.
No, and I think he's gonna do it low enough and neat enough where, and once again, that is where the electric lines do come in.
I think the defining feature of this house is the stonework, like you mentioned, it's built on a rock. It's so substantial on each kind of side and viewpoint of this house. So when you kind of get to this point, and it's hard to tell without seeing all kind of 6 here together, it feels, along with the windows, which are kind of a stark contrast to the originals on the top.
2 of them here.
Mhm.
And 2 of them here. This is separate. This is of like a
Could we see them photoed?
Huh?
Could we see them photoed?
I mean, you were there on site, yes. This is 2 unit on one side, and then the other 2 is on
I
the
just
other.
think this guy cuts off most of the. From those 2 points. Those are the 2 points.
Okay, this 2 unit, okay.
Those are the 2 units.
Okay, and then this 2 unit, which is, there's overhang, and it's gone underneath of this overhang.
Yes, and there's pipes and wires hanging straight down. from it.
That's why we told you we're gonna make it like that. Let it go in. It's not gonna hang there. That was work not complete, which was the same thing, like.
That kind of speaks to my historic facade. It really takes away from that.
Which I just showed you on the front of the house. There are
Those
4
are
of
copper
those at the
gutters.
same
Those are
time.
not Electric. If you plan on doing copper gutters, that's something.
Fine,
to
I can
discuss.
use the
It'd
copper
still be
gutters,
altering the
yeah.
facade.
Hmm?
It would
Yeah.
still be altering that.
I can use the same type of the conduit, the downspout as my front on my house. That's not a problem. I'm not gonna use everything like this. That's exactly the idea.
I think the reason that we're having to come up with these is because it's an inappropriate application of this particular unit for this size home. That's why we're having to find different runarounds to make it work and do 8 units. Truly, this should be a home that has a high velocity system put into it. It's what we put into the Psalm House in that restoration. It is standard practice for a home of that size.
Perhaps if the applicant had an HVAC contractor, could suggest a fix to this? I mean,
I'm happy to recommend several.
Work is done already. We're trying to just make sure it's not offensive to the neighbors. It's our property, and then it has a large backyard from other people. It's all shielded. No,
It's you know, it's there is a compromise that we can get to, but I strongly feel that, you've come so far, and it's almost as, I mean, it's not the case. A lot of people do restoration projects and then they run out of money and they don't have a choice, so they have to skimp and save. I don't believe that's the case here. So it's just our concern is that, just let's get it to the final level, and then everyone will be happy. You'll be happy, and you think, and hopefully you'll say, it was going back one step.
Do you want me to send someone to take a picture of every unit in this park? And let's get on to who approves what. I know there's a lot of these
If they
units.
brought that before the board, it would not be approved. That is black and white. Very simple.
Yeah,
I don't think life is as simple as you suggested.
No, you're right, but it's going back one step, going
Yeah.
forward too. I mean, that's what we're asking.
Mhm.
And I think, at the end of the day, we'll all be thrilled and happy. But it is, it is a stain on your
This is
project.
why we're trying to, put up the green shields, so that it's become an issue that we see. And the time I told him 5 years, 6 years later, when this unit require replacement and when availability is there, should I consider at that time? Maybe. But this is a brand new unit. This is a brand new unit. I'm not gonna make another investment just because, with some people, it doesn't like this.
It's not about a matter of like or dislike. It's about the matter of the guidelines that we have in front of us that make this a beautiful place to live.
I mean, see what your engineer says, see what because what it is, it's like, a cancer. We want to get rid of the cancer. So it's not just a lingering, we want to get rid of it. We want to, get it. So it's in
So
in good
you
shape.
do not want me to plan anything until we
Well,
do the litigation?
just to see what you're after this feedback. Speak with your engineer, see what possibilities there are, that maybe there is a compromise that we can come up with that makes us all happy.
Mhm.
Instead of going 100% shooting for the moon, let's reach the stars so that you're happy, we're happy, it conforms, and that because the last thing we want is to approve something, or have to something that's not right, and then we're setting a very bad precedent for the next person. So, oh, look, like you're saying, and quite rightly, there's some other houses that are abominable the way it's been done, and how they slip through the bar, I'm not sure, but they certainly wouldn't slip through now. And so we don't want people going around saying, "Oh, look, Victoria did that. Why can't I do that?" But, we want to say, "Victoria did that. Look at that. That is amazing, and that's how it's done." We want you to be the queen of tuxedo.
Well, that would be the
On
worst one
rock.
after everybody did that, after this town did to me, and that was a hard spell,
Well,
okay?
we were so sorry that,
I mean, I'm trying to work with you, okay, with everybody, but if you decided to play hard time, we'll go back to court.
no, we don't want to play hard time. We just want,
Yeah.
we
See this
just
house
want
be
us
the
all,
best version that it possibly
Huh?
can.
we just want to be all a high standard. We want this.
I know, but after all this, nothing gonna please you, and then we come here to talk about how to shield it. Now you want me to first dig up everything for the stones and then dig up my
That's a
house for the
suggestion,
thing
not
and all
required.
that, this is like, you didn't come in to look at what is applied. You come in to want me to change the house according to
I
your
gotta look
renovation
at what
style.
is-
This
no, it
is not
style,
acceptable.
It's our guidelines, and that was put
Well,
before them.
guideline is subject to interpretation to the court. You think this is it. Not everybody think this is a problem. Okay,
Well, then.
and on top of that,
You're welcome to
this,
debate that.
okay, this one. Even even what, in front of your own little what, the
Security booth.
yeah, you have a piece like this. You didn't hide it too.
No.
I think sometimes this is a collaborative effort, right? And I think there's back and forth to decide what the solution.
I
is.
will listen to suggestions
We
about
suggested-
how to make it work, but not that change this whole thing according
I
to
did-
your
I
standard,
did suggest-
including picking up all the dirt to see whether there's a stone underneath. This
Right.
is like, you want to renovate your project, buy your own home, renovate
I
it,
did.
all right?
And I followed the
And I
guidelines.
didn't hire you to renovate this. So
Yeah, but
therefore,
it's
you're
clear.
not somebody to tell me how to renovate a house. I'm
No, but
gonna,
the
you know,
citizens
that's
for
it.
this bar
Yeah.
and having an application before us, I am working in a collaborative effort with you. to make
I
it
hope it's
better.
collaborative,
It
okay?
is.
But it
Now, may I
doesn't look
finish,
like
please?
so
I
for
waited until
now.
you finished, and I would like to finish my statement. Thank you. I provided two options. I didn't say completely get rid of the system. I said the best option would be the hybrid option. You spoke very highly about the solemn renovation. That's what we used there. The other option I presented was centralizing them on a roof ideally. I said I would need to look at the plans to give you a more
There
informed
is no
opinion.
roof on top of this side of building. If you look at it, okay, it's very simple.
If it
This-
is not possible to use them,
No.
then that is an indication that it is the wrong appliance to apply here.
How if I just put a window unit, how is that? That's not allowed in the park? Nobody allowed to put a window unit in your home?
No, certainly, but it's, would you want to do that? I mean, these.
That's just the problem, you see what I'm saying, you know?
This is.
That's what I'm saying. This side of the room, this side of a house, okay, it's very simple. This is single story, you know, that was the same picture you were sitting underneath. There's no roof on top of that. Everything is slided, all right?
But
So
do-
if there is a place we could put on top and still make it work, yes, I would be, because just like I did at other
That'd be a
side.
great option.
But the problem, there is no roof here. The roof, it is not a flat roof. It is a roof of a copper roof. That was even more visible from a distance. Because if you stand outside on the street, you go back to see this is a single story. You see a piece on top of that, that whole park can see it. Now, this is because I allowed you to go to my house and you saw it. But most of the time, my neighbors with trees cover, nobody see it from the distance. And so this is why we consider this is a more considerate solution than your solution putting on the top of the roof. The roof is visible, single story from outside. Everybody can see it.
Ryan's input is, it's very important, and it's because he cares about it. It's not to be critical or to be, to upset you. It's very valuable input from an experienced, pragmatic person that's done it. So I would suggest speaking to the engineer and just throw these ideas at him and to see if there is an alternative. Because I think in the end, we'd all be happy. You'd be happier. We'd be happier that it's done the right way. The value of the property would be maintained. This is degrading the value of the property with these things stuck on the side. It's not, it's not the standard one would expect. It's cheapening it a little bit. So we wanted to. So I think
match the other renovations you've done. It is such a stunning home. I saw the restoration you did on the lattice work and the rest of the home, and
it's dreamy. Yeah, we want to
mesmerizing.
We want to get there. We want to get there.
I mean, truly.
And then look at all the hard time you want to continue to give me. And therefore,
we care about
sometimes
it.
life is simpler to go to the court. You know that?
Well, we don't want to do that. We care about it a great deal.
Yes, I am trying to work with you. I'm even telling you, you tell me about the hickories and all that, and then everything. So from this distance, this won't see it, nobody see it, is properly shielded, all right?
Yeah, but
Now,
It's-
you have to insist on something which is not a viable solution, or, it's
It's
just,
non-viable because that shouldn't have been the solution in the first place to put those units.
let's see.
that's what I'm
Let's
saying.
see.
Do you allow anybody to put a window unit?
If someone came to me in an application.
No,
and
I
said
don't
that,
think a portable window unit, they need to require, they go to the court, see whether they have the permits,
Before
okay?
the
This
bar
is a
for
court that you have a
application.
property right. You have the,
So
you
used
have the, for the
example
modern
of our
comfort.
booth. If we approve this, then every person that comes in front of us will then say, well. this don't
So
work.
then tell me why you approve the community bush from the coming in, that's not shielded. That unit is sitting right there.
You didn't have approval authority. That's
You do?
You did not.
You did not.
You did not. You don't have the authority. It's the Board of Trustees decided that.
Okay,
It's
so,
not in our purview. But you are in our purview. We want to do the right thing.
yeah.
We want to
yeah,
get
yeah.
to a
You
beautiful
want,
spot.
put this way, I am willing to open to work with you to make things
Thank
better.
you. We appreciate
But when
that.
someone want to tell me to dig up my road and find out there's any
did
stone
not.
underneath, I already know this is not talking about working. It's about you want to run your things
Now, I will-
yourself. No, no,
Let
it's-
me be very clear. I did
Yeah.
not sit here and tell you that that was a requirement. I suggested, because digging around my property, I found buried paths that were beautiful and made out of cobblestone and would cost you much less than putting in however many metric tons of stone need to go on that. So that was not a requirement or that I told you how to do. I said that in being a good neighbor of, oh, look what I found. So I don't like being disparaged that I implied in any way that you had to do something to my
At the
standard.
same time, when there's a modern units, okay, there's a modern
The
comfort
modern
required,
computing
yeah.
unit is
yeah.
the four
And we didn't-
velocity system that would be installed
That's-
correctly, not the one going through.
You go
windows
to,
and-
okay, go to the New York State website, all right? The government is promoting
Or
to
did
use
you
this
type in
kind of
the square
energy
footage of your home on
efficient.
that website?
Hmm?
Because did you type in the square footage of your home on that website? Because they would recommend that you're an excellent candidate for geothermal. I highly suggest that you do that when you go on the website.
Well, sometime down the road, when that's possible, yes, we will do that. But right now, this is how the home is
The
heated and how
standard
the
is
home is
set by
do the
what's
thing, you
recommended
know,
on the
yeah.
energy guides. It is the geothermal unit that would be the most
Ma'am,
efficient, not this.
Yeah.
We're not in the business of telling you how to heat this home or how to cool it, what kind of system you can use. That's a mechanical question. We're just here for the aesthetics of it. Mr. Lynch was just making suggestions. It's not the board directing you to use any type of particular system or procedure. It would help with the aesthetics, of course, but we're here on the aesthetics only. So we do have to come back for the notification of the neighbors with respect to the generator
Good question.
and screening of it. And maybe in the interim, we could have some kind of alternates for screening or moving these units to a rooftop or somewhere would not interfere with the beauty of the exterior of the building.
Do the neighbors need to be notified of the, is it 4 or 6 units on that side by the generator?
I think it's 6.
The 6 units that are going to be in variation of almost 10 feet higher than this? I think they should be notified of that as well. It's visible from their property.
Any kind of exterior alteration of the home is going to have to be notified to the neighbors, correct, John?
Correct.
And then they would have some input, but we need basically
This is
a
not,
rendering of some sort as to what it's intended to look like and a site plan showing where the plantings are so that the neighbor can look at it and get an appreciation of what you're trying to accomplish.
Bottom line is,
Good cop, bad cop.
what he says is so much more important what I've said about it, his experience and knowledge. And I hope that's coming through loud and clear, that it's to help and it's constructive. And it's not an easy message to tell someone that's successful, like yourself, saying, how do you do this? It's not, we're not doing that. We're just suggesting, and it's a collaboration. And we all want to get there, and we really strongly all believe that that we can do a little better job with it and to meet the code.
like,
and
that's
to-
what I'm saying. I am offering to grow whatever the thing you suggest, okay? We're gonna put it up so the neighbors problem all resolved. If that's not accepted, and then everybody wanna argue whether this is also the structure, this is aesthetic, and we go to court, 5 years later, it still look the same.
Well, it's a suggestion to
this
speak
is-
to your engineer, to see
Yeah,
what he
I
comes
know,
up.
I can do that, because
See what
the
he
thing
says,
is
well,
that,
maybe.
Frankly, it's not a very good neighbor. I don't think that we're trying in building a community here. The goal is to make this look unattractive to my neighbors for 5 years.
nobody,
That's not-
nobody complained about this, all right,
Nobody
because of
notified
that.
and-
Yeah, let them notify, that's all right, that's okay. But the thing is that if you're picking on things like that, okay, so we can do another another village-wide search for the units that was being in place that outside, and then we will see what happened.
You're welcome to
when.
do so. I would love to
Yeah.
know, and I would love to see any application that's come before this board that's approved that.
Yeah.
Like, it is not within our guidelines, and if they come before us, we would be giving them the same message that I'm giving you now.
We want, have a very high standard. We want to be able to say, look, this is how it's done. Look how Victoria did it. Instead of saying, don't do what
This
Victoria.
is why what we did is that when we have this walls, whatever the number you want, the green walls, then that solve all the problem. At least the whole, yeah.
It's not a solution. Beautiful historic facade. It is covering that. You then still have the problem of the intrusion points in the house, the problem of the metal coping that you're going to put around it to have it go to where it needs to go to. It doesn't just magically disappear because we put a 10-foot tree in front of it. It is still desecrating a beautiful facade
Yeah, but it's,
at best.
think this is all constructive criticism. It's not, it's something to
Well,
think about.
we can talk about that, yes.
Right.
I mean, this is the unit that, okay, so I already, my,
On the generator anyway. So why don't we pause on A until there's a conversation with an engineer, and then we can kind of continue the conversation. Is that fair to move forward? But I think we've gotten to a good place on the stone and the landscape features and the west porch roof staying consistent with copper. So why don't we approve what we can?
Yeah.
And then move forward and continue the conversation.
And we made a decision on copper for that, not on.
Yes.
That sounds fair, yeah.
Yes, just specify standing seam copper is typical.
Standing
seam
seam,
copper.
Let's make a proposal to approve the repair of the west porch roof for the Victoria Alberta's property. Was it 114?
116.
116 Tower Hill Road. For the Fusco Engineering and Land Surveying Consulting Engineer Plan, reference number 2232, page, sheet number 1. Drawing A2. And last dated 26th of June 2023. Using a
Standing seam copper on the west porch roof. There'll be no windows in the roof. It'll just be the beams, correct?
There's no
There's
window,
no windows.
nothing,
It'll just be the wood beams.
That's what you see, yeah.
Mhm.
and the would be
They are existing.
There is,
they're painted or they're
They are already painted, but you're gonna match in the color again. So
the
you
colour
see
would be
it's
matched,
already
right.
there.
exactly.
We're just gonna paint them back to the same color. Make it nice.
Yes.
This is for the roof install.
This
Yeah.
is for the
Yes, yeah.
standing
I
seam
second
copper
that.
roof.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Slowly, baby steps. Well, we're going to get there, Victoria.
So
We'll
two
get
and
there.
three are done, right?
So the stone, the stone.
The
we've got to
stone
see.
you want to give
Yeah,
a
we're gonna
sample,
see, yeah.
okay.
We want to make sure it works. It may not work. And the
Yeah.
last thing you want to do is put all that down again
Okay.
and then, you
Quick question. You said that your preference was the smaller one.
What is preference of smaller one?
If you said I have to pick one of those stones, the bigger aggregate and the smaller aggregate. you-
No. I mean, the color, the problem with the stone is this one is a coarse one and it's very large. It's like 3/4, 1 inches. I don't like that. And this one is a mix, and then this is round with it's called a river stone and it's round. But he doesn't like the color. That's why, he said whether it is a little bit too light. So that's why then there was a suggestion, mix some darker color into it,
Not to bring it in.
because they don't, I don't want to buy rock from the people I don't know where they're coming from, because the environmental problem, know that. And this is from St. Quarry in New Jersey. So if it's agreeable, I prefer just use this.
You're saying they can't supply that in a smaller
Smaller
grade?
size, no, yeah. That's the problem.
That's
The reason
They
I,
don't crash it,
the
yeah.
reason I ask, I think this, I do like this size, I think especially for the flat
Yeah,
parking area
yeah,
up
yeah,
around the house,
yeah.
that'll do much better there.
Yeah,
This is, you have a very hilly slope driveway. I noticed after all the rain, you getting some stone wash away. This will really help on that, have that on.
this is actually a mix of, oh wow, different color. No, because we have that the
No, I'm not
grid,
suggesting
right?
I'm
I
saying
know,
that
I know.
that's
Thank
not
you.
good.
Thank you. You learn it really fast. Okay, thank you. But we do have the grid. So the grid actually hold the rocks pretty well. This time you see that all the rocks were holding, it's the sand that got pushed by the water. So we have to resand them again and all that. But this one, I think, is gonna stay pretty well, even in the slope, because
Yeah, I think having the bigger aggregate too. will
yeah,
help that.
yeah, this is a bigger and small mix. They have 1 inches and then they have a quarter and all that. This is a mix of everything. This is a big one. That's why. And plus, this looks like a construction site to me. I don't know.
It's too.
Yeah.
So, but if they can do it smaller.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
we got to see in
Okay, we
situ.
gotta see it, yeah.
It's got to.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So,
Yeah.
you can walk barefoot on it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
think about solution.
Absolutely.
I can compromise, but promise you, if we ever have to replace it again, I might consider doing a larger unit and all that when it's available, but having just bought brand new 5 of them, it's just not fair to me to ask me to change them immediately. I hope you can understand
I
that, yeah.
understand that, but it's not fair to ask us to retroactively approve.
All
something
right,
that-
that's what I'm saying.
Well, I
You know, we have to go that route,
I think Ryan he's new to the board and
Yeah.
he perhaps wasn't aware of that. Unfortunately, you were told the bar was, a bad thing and
Exactly.
you went on a tangent without realizing that
Yeah.
we're here to help you. We're here to,
Exactly.
and so you started off on the wrong foot, unfortunately. And we are so grateful that you came skipping back. And so we can all go on the right
Hopefully we can.
direction together.
Definitely.
Exactly. That's
All
what
right,
we-
thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
so
Okay,
much.
yeah, okay.
Number
3, your time is up.
Right.
Yay! Thank you for your patience. We need to, it's not normally like this, and I'm sorry.
Really?
it's
Okay,
been
we got
taking so
lucky.
long.
Okay.
Yeah, you got
so, yeah.
lucky.
Yeah, yours is going to be the most difficult one.
Oh gosh, my stomach's gonna be growling.
Just so I know, so you're Chris?
Christopher Gow, yes.
Okay, Molly,
I know
Molly.
Molly.
Ryan, I figured and you're Miss.
I'm Steve Honan, I'm the attorney.
Yeah, I know John for as long as I was here. Anyway, let's go.
Well, so we're delighted. You have an amazing, I was telling your wife, it's such a fabulous slice of heaven you have. It
I
is such a
know.
pristine, virgin piece of land. It is so important. So that because it acts as a filter, which why I gave you this
Yeah.
information about protecting the lake. It is so, so, so important for the health of the lake. So you have a huge responsibility to be great stewards of it. So this is the delicate path, literally, we have to take of respecting all the infrastructure there, all the tiny microorganisms, the leaf litter, everything that's been there and is so healthy. It's like a sieve. And what we're doing is making a path. So we're sort of undoing a thread of the sieve. So it's opening up a little bit, but not destroying this sieve, not destroying this filter, not upending it, so that you can have your cake and eat it. We can enjoy and benefit from this super functioning piece of land, but also you can enjoy the marvels of it. So, for example, if I'm not sure who your contractor is, but some contractors say, yeah, just do that and clean it up. That to them is interpretation of getting rid of all the leaf litter, cutting everything back, trimming everything down to make it nice and Saddle River looking like, which would be a huge
That's
mistake.
not our
No, we're
thinking.
not.
That's great. That's what I thought, but it's important for us to vocalize this because it's got to be as minimal invasion as possible. So there's functional aspects of it. There's little little brooks that go through it. When I visited, it was pouring with rain, so I could see
Is
it.
this Saturday or Sunday?
This was last weekend.
Okay.
It's raining for us too.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Oh, you separated two groups?
We
Okay.
went separately, yeah. So, and it's obviously when it's pouring rain, you won't be probably walking underneath it. But it's important that, that whoever stores the gravel, I'll make it nice and flat so it's even. And blocking that those channels, the drainage channels,
Okay.
the water then will run round, it'll erode, and then it'll try to find a new pathway. Then trees will fall down because it's getting erosion. The nutrients will go into the water, and it'll just upset the whole thing. So it's very important to respect these areas. So there'll be dips in your path. Don't put gravel where the dips are. And it's, you know, it's pretty flat because that's where the water's gone.
That's not our concern, yeah. That
Right.
part is not our concern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you saw all
So
the,
for the drainage part, and we will just put some big flat stones, like a step.
That's a good idea. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So that if it's necessary, they weren't that deep. So I think, as I say, you won't be in the rain. So even though it's pouring with rain, I mean, I had boots on, but I didn't really need them. It wasn't
Yeah.
a flurry of water. So maybe just that flat thing would be perfectly fine.
It's like the water can go around with it as
Mm.
like a big flat stone, and so we can step in. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
exactly
we
what
we
we're
are
doing.
trying to
Sure.
preserve the nature as much as we can. And but because for us, I can walk in a little bit, but there's a lot of like poison ivy.
spikes and it's like.
So that's I
it's
worry
unsafe
about
for
it.
people.
And my parents are like they are in 70s, almost 80. So
Mm.
I hope they can enjoy a little bit. So that's why we have to.
Our neighbor has a 1-year-old and we want her to be there too. It's unwalkable.
Mhm.
So it's we're not going to put any like stop the drainage. It's just put a big stone and
Right.
so step.
Just a safe passage.
Yeah, the safe part. And then
Yeah.
because there's some amazing spice bush, the native trees there and bushes that it was shocking how good it was. Whereas other areas where we humans have intervened, there's all these invasive species everywhere. So it was, I was shocked how beautiful it was. So I'm so glad you'd be able to appreciate it and be good stewards of it because it's so important. Yeah. So it's and who is the contractor who will be doing the
The
work?
one did my neighbors like
Samantha's?
yes,
property?
they already sold
They sold
too.
it, okay.
They
So
sold
on
it.
our right-hand side is even bigger reservoir of land. If you notice on our
Yeah.
right, right, that's like 3 acres. or
What's
5
his name?
acres? I only know Sam.
Anthony,
Anthony,
yeah, the contractor.
He talked to you, right, John?
I spoke to someone
I think
over a
it was-
month or so ago. I don't know. his
Yeah,
I think it was
they are
Anthony.
slow, yeah.
Is that the way people have tried to put the houses up and get permission and they're not?
No, you're mixing.
Yes, so if you look at our property, it's on the right.
On the right.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, when it slopes down.
Yeah, yeah,
It was a
it's
house that
very-
was taken
yeah, yeah,
down.
yeah,
Right,
it's
okay.
very
That
large.
one, it's
Yeah,
the same
very
property,
large land.
yeah.
So yeah, so we're talking about apples and oranges because yours is just like amazing and that is like all messed up because there was a, you know, and so, you know, but some people would think, oh, that's lovely because it's all open and lovely and that's nice for the kids to play. It's the worst thing you can do by the lake. So I'm so thrilled that you want to respect that.
At least to me, it's more, there's a lot of dead trees,
Mhm.
pretty high up. And there's some rocks, you cannot really have a passage. You gotta climb down. I think for 80 years old people and for a young child, and there's a lot of spikes, spiky, so you just want to clear a pass.
Yeah, we
Right.
just want an A pass, yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's, I think it was 4
to 6 feet.
4 to 6 feet.
depends on the
Yeah, I
road.
wouldn't go more than that.
Yeah.
And then as far as the dead trees are concerned, a dead tree is as good as a live tree for
Okay.
for
That
the
tree,
habitat.
we are basically, we'll keep all the that tree in the wood,
Uh-huh.
but we remove from that pathway. That's
Right.
You align them or you can chop in the middle so we can actually get through.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
So how many trees do you think?
5 to 10, not too many.
Yeah.
It's a dead tree. It's like only one area have like several dead trees.
That- that-
ones that
that-
have fallen
just past the
Yeah.
brooks.
Yeah.
Just about that are already down, right?
Yeah.
You're not
There are many
No,
years.
we're not, no,
Touching
no
any
straight
through, okay.
Big trees, you don't need to touch big trees.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
why we're trying to not completely straight line. So we're trying to move
Make it wide.
between
Yeah,
trees.
it's winding
Yeah.
line.
The meandering
Yeah, I love
path
that.
is
It's not a path, it's not a
magical.
straight path.
We're talking
Right,
about
yes.
that tree is not still
that's a completely
standing
explored
there. We're
pasture
talking
with
about
this.
that trees is
The
lying.
dead tree we're talking about is horizontally lined
Lying
across
on
the
the-
property.
Yeah, so just
You
move
have
them to the
to-
side of the
Yeah.
habitat.
We can do that too.
And
That's,
Yeah.
we can do that. Yeah, that's no big deal, yeah.
And no, that would be exciting.
Would it be at all a good idea to remove them if it's going to be a walkway for children, creating a tick habitat?
That's
I think-
private.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you know, the deer, I don't know what there's many deer there, but the deer will always be there. So
Mm.
anytime you're going on a bridle path, you know, you just got to imagine you can get a tip. So you just got to check yourself. It's, you know, there's no, you could spray yourself to kingdom come, but you know,
Part of life. and
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
It's-
Orange
I like-
County, number
yeah.
one.
Yes.
so it's, and it's, you know, some people think I'll spray the property to reduce it and that sort of thing. And, you know, it's, you know, it's.
Araya is right, though. You do want it to keep it to minimum chances, right? Because
Yeah.
you have young
Unreasonable
children.
to remove
Right.
those.
It would not be fair. Older people is even more vulnerable.
Right, you just keep to the, keep to the path and then.
We don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, and then it's, you know, but the thing is, so it's by the most important part is obviously by the lake. So that's what we call a riparian buffer. And that is the real filter right there. So that's the area that, you know, I think there's rocks there or something already, some nice
Yeah,
rocks to
there's-
sit on or.
Yeah, it's some of the big rock
Mhm.
and it's one on one side is the water coming, that's like a kind of like a
little brook.
rock pathway kind of things.
Right.
And yeah, we are not interrupt anything
Right.
close to the, like very close to the
Right, yeah.
the lake.
No, we're not, once you get to the lake, it's already open.
Right,
You don't
exactly.
have a safety issue
Right.
per se.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's more to just get there.
Yeah.
Right, and the access of it, is it going to be discreet or will it, because it'll be so
Oh, you mean the
beautiful.
entry point?
The entry point from the road, because that'll, oh, look, a lot of people will see, oh, that's nice, and go down there.
What
How do
if
you
you
want-
just put like a, at the beginning of the, first of all, I'm not opening the beginning too much.
Right.
So
Mm.
on the road, you will not see much.
Mhm.
So hopefully keep like a almost similar look.
Right.
It's now.
Yes,
So, and possibly I just put a like private, that's all.
It's not in our interest to have a big opening.
right, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. You
that
want it-
feels too welcoming.
Yeah, you want it discreet, and so it's not like, yeah, come on in, y'all.
Yeah, everybody
So-
wants
Look at
that.
you guys, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you that we've got that recorded. Thank you. Yes, we have witnesses.
Okay.
Do you have any other concerns or questions or suggestions?
You mentioned using some gravel on the path. Is that still your intention, or does the board have any concerns about the color or type?
What type of, yes, that's it.
Just like a routine gravels and the color, I don't have any specific colors. It's like as natural as can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we've had issues where people have used gravel that's very light, and so it looks like a.
So if that's not what you like, we use harder, darker one.
It's ideally so it disappears, so that, you know, the moss grows in between it, so it's a firm, safe path, but the moss grows. So it'll be the gravel straight on the soil. You're not thinking of putting.
So what Anthony told us, like our gardener, we have a land as well, and here is that they will put some level of protective fiber so the grass don't shoot through, because that would just defeat the purpose. You have poison ivy, all the other stuff come through. So they have this thing in there and they have gravel on top. That's what I understood. In terms of color, we don't have a giant preference. If you want a darker one that tend to be disappear or like molded with everything else, that's okay with us.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
If the goal is to have like a very natural looking kind of meandering path, it might make sense to appropriate that is like a larger stepping stone rocks and have those go in between. You could also have, I mean, you could backfill with dirt or moss going into them. It would kind of keep it, your goal of having that be the small opening that no one sees. I wonder if it's a gravel path, if that draws more attention and is kind of contrasting to the natural environment.
The biggest issue is my parents, they are getting older and I worry about later on when they want to walk, the big stone maybe have the issues. They may not have ability to walk straight to the lake, but if they, whatever they can make the step, so it's as flat as can be. That's why I want to like
And not too
relatively,
slippery.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
When it rains.
doesn't want to do the step, like if close to the drainage, like a river part, we do the step, then it's a several step, because I don't think the drain is it's very big, so several step to pass.
Yeah,
When you
no,
say drink, you mean close to the lake.
I mean,
The little sort of the rivulet.
Oh,
is
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
it's kind
the
of
brook
like
up
a-
there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I do think the gravel though, with the moss coming through, does achieve that natural look and maybe more of a padded area, so everybody that's walking on it will feel stable.
And then to get that, yes, to stop the growth coming up from underneath, the impervious barrier is there, but with the gravel and a little bit of dirt on top of it, the moss loves
that
that.
would just
And
blend.
then,
Yeah,
and then
then
it,
it would
and then it
thrive.
blends
I
in.
think that would look very nice.
But,
Yeah.
but I'm glad you mentioned about, the color of the gravel, because, there's some people put gravel that, is on my grandmother's grave. It's the same gravel. So I find that very upsetting, and it's,
Color, I don't have a preference.
so
I don't
it's,
have preference.
so maybe, it'd be great to, get a sample of that and put it down and to see how it looks.
Any sample that you prefer, like, if you give us
It's
a couple
like
choices.
it's like let's put this way, it's as close to the dirt. That's fine with us. Yeah, it would not select like a white or any.
Yeah.
It doesn't benefit us.
Yeah, no,
For
so
what?
so I'd just get a sample, put it down and see how it looks, because the contractor may say, oh, this is great, and and it's there, and the same like with Victoria, she did that whole thing because of the white gravel, because she had a photograph and it looked like white gravel.
Mm.
It was a bleached photograph, so
Uh-huh.
she thought she was being historically correct,
I
but it was
see.
because it was the and so she's undoing that. That now, so she went down the wrong. That we don't want that to happen to you. You come back and the contractors put all the gravel all the way down, and it's like a.
Can we? You have the cell phone. Can we?
There's no signal.
But they have the gas. We can put the Wi-Fi in.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
put the
okay.
Wi-Fi in. Then we select some gravel, and then
We just didn't want
gotta
to.
just get the color.
I think
Unless you want to meet us every day. we'll have
no,
to-
I think just to get a sample of yourself, just a bag, and to put it in situ, just to see how it looks.
No,
It's,
Chris, what you're saying playback, you want us to see it.
yeah,
You want us
to put
You're
it
not saying
there.
come back to the board again.
Oh, no, I think we can approve pending and just inspection. We
Yeah.
just have a look at the gravel and say bingo, and I think we're gonna be on the same page.
Tuxedo Park, if you.
But we
find-
just-
So we're just thinking, okay, I'll pick up the gravel, the color, and
It's very beneficial to bring it to the site because the photo that they chose in the screen might.
The
really
lighting
change the
could be
color quite a
different and it
bit.
could read more blue if it's darker.
And-
Yeah,
And any excuse for us to come back to a
Yeah.
magical little waiver.
Four cases.
But we-
Straight-
but we could do the conditional.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah. So
appropriate.
we can do a conditional. So
Okay.
once we're on
Just-
site and see it, then it's, you
Good to
don't
go.
have to come back.
You don't have to come back and
It's
wait for
good to
hours
know.
and
We're gonna
hours and
send
hours.
John a photo.
Or drop off a small sample here
Yeah.
if you want,
Okay.
a small box or bag.
Just say, put it down yourself so you see it, and then tell us, and we'll just have a look at it. Yeah, it's easier for us to do that, and we'll say, yay. Yeah, and so we can approve pending that, and then so you can move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
That's
great.
fine. I thought it
Okay,
worked for
so
us.
Great.
conditional approved.
Alright.
Okay, so
Great.
let's.
Sorry, been the shortest one for you guys.
We
Break the record.
appreciate it.
So we would like to make a motion to approve the rough path with gravel, which we will see, the condition that we see a sample of in situ for the property belonging to the Lins at 21 Laurel Lodge Road.
And 4 to 6 feet path, do you want to specify that?
The second page has some of the notes. that I was just-
And so
4 to 6, the red text you just said.
with 4 to 6 feet wide and around 440 feet long. Walkable to the lake, no planted disturbance of the lake or the brooks.
No large
no-
standing trees.
No large standing trees to be cut or removed. About 3 to 5 fallen dead trees need to be removed from the path to the side. And
That's, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
second,
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Bingo! Good night. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
For your dedication.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Are we doing the last item 4?
No.
No, okay.
They'll be back with samples.
Okay.
Thank
great.
you, good night.
Thank you.
Thank you
night.
so much.
Now, I'd like to stay longer, just want to make sure.
So
What minutes, I don't know what date.
the,
Had to be approved, I'm
the,
sorry.
um,
Have a meeting.
Yeah,
It was.
it was,
it was,
Weeks prior.
June,
it was even before that, actually, I think.
our last meeting
17th.
was June 5.
that's right, yeah. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 5th Board of Architecture review meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
like to make a motion to
Thank and welcome Brian.
for all his invaluable input and to close this meeting. 8:05.
Thank you very much.
Well done, sir.